it's public that the Blues are trying to move Robert Thomas, and now what's happened with Colton Parayko, there kind of is no really going back. Like, some point, because of, the way the Blues are headed, this just seems obvious that most of these aging veterans with some term on their contract are going to be gone.
That was Jeremy Rutherford on with TMA last week, talking about guys like Colton Parayko, Robert Thomas, and what their future is going to hold here in St. Louis. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Alex, to me, when I look at where the Blues are at right now, I say to myself, what's the plan?
Been asking that for 2 years.
Because I think we kind of had an idea. While the results weren't always there, you could see, okay, they're going younger, they're trying to retool, and they're trying to remain competitive while they do all of that. I get it. That makes sense to me. You keep Braden Shin, you keep Colton Parayko, you keep Jordan Binnington, you keep Justin Falk. You're trying to remain competitive while also putting Jimmy Snuggerud into the lineup and adding Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg into the lineup. And yet last year, having a guy like Zach Bolduc in the lineup regularly. Now you have Otto Stenberg in the lineup. So cool. Yeah, I'm in on that. Now you have had another season of failure.
Well, not yet. 7 points out of the playoff spot.
Justin Falk's gone. Braden Shin's gone. They were talking about potentially trading Colton Parayko at the deadline. They tried to do so. There were talks on Robert Thomas potentially going. And that begs the question of what's the plan? And that's the question that Jeremy Rutherford and Matthew DeFranks asked of Tom Stillman as they talked with him yesterday. By the way, Tom Stillman will be on the Last Minute Blues podcast later today. Alex Ferrario will have an opportunity to ask this question of Tom Stillman as well.
He's be like, oh, God, again?
So he was asked about staying competitive and whether or not that remains a goal for the Blues or if they're going to go more into a traditional rebuild, otherwise known as a tank. Here's what he had to say, Alex. Again, this comes from Jeremy Rutherford's piece over at The Athletic today. Staying competitive all along was led by Kyrou and Thomas, but these older guys, the Sage veterans, they were there to make sure they're not only great players, but they're bringing players along. We've moved those assets to help the retool part, but in the meantime, other guys have grown older, got more experience, shown their ability, and the hope is they can keep us competitive. Next year, you bring a lot of young guys in, you're going to have some stumbles, so I'm not here to say, oh yeah, we're going to be fine, we're going to win the division next year, but it's not like we're going to have a team full of 20 rookies. We do still have a good mix. It's a younger mix of young veterans where we still have that, end quote. Alex, I read all of that, and I think to myself, okay, once again, all of this is tied to Kyrou and Thomas. Turning things over from Perron and O'Reilly, that was related to Kyrou and Thomas. That's the beginning of this era of Blues hockey. And now we once again are back to, it all comes down to Kyrou and Thomas. So how are you viewing their immediate future after reading some of Tom Stillman's comments?
I mean, I read the comments, and I saw him say Kyrou and Thomas, and I thought to myself, well, yeah, he's got to say Kyrou and Thomas because they're a part of this team now. I mean, if you're Tom Stillman, you can't sit there and say, well, it's going to be more Jake Neighbors and Jimmy Snuggerud because that's just going to present more noise of, well, why didn't he say Thomas and Kyrou? Because I'll raise my hand right now and say if Thomas and Kyrou's names didn't come out of Tom Stillman's mouth, I'd be on the show going, all right, boys, they're gone this offseason. So I think he had to do it. I think he's right in the sense of it's still around Robert Thomas. Like if Thomas is here, you're still building around that guy. I wouldn't have Kyrou's name in there because I think the Kyrou now has passed over to Jimmy Snuggerud and Dylan Holloway and Jake Neighbors and all of these other pieces that are in your system. Like the way I look at this, and when he said we're not going into a rebuild or a whatever, we're just kind of continuing this same timeline, I thought to myself, okay, well, when you said that timeline, you said you hoped it was about 3 years like the LA Kings, and that was the 2022-2023 season, right? That was the year that they traded those guys away. Doug spoke after that deadline. Well, in your system, You had a Jake Neighbors who was a couple of years after being drafted. Jimmy Snuggerud was drafted the prior year, and you drafted Dvorsky, Stenberg, Lindstein. Like, those are the pieces. And then add in what a Jiricek and Carbonneau have been these last couple of years. So I think they view the direction, at least reading Tom Stillman's words, and I'm excited to talk with him later today, is this thing is still marinating in terms of all of these guys that when we told you this 3-year retool, they're no longer in the minors or in college. They're on the NHL roster. They had their first season. These next wave of guys that we have drafted and believe are going to be a part of it, well, they're going to be there. So it's like a continuation of a retool. But my problem with that is, so you're telling me it's another 3-year retool on top of a 3-year retool, which should just be a rebuild. But
you didn't do it the rebuilding
correctly?
way.
That's the question. So that's why when you say it's on Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou, it's kind of one of those things that's like, okay, until I see that it's on Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou, I think this next wave, this next direction, is on Snuggerud and Holloway and Dvorsky and Carbonneau and Jiricek and Prober, all of these other guys. And then whomever is left over on the roster, you're a part of it. Like, I think if Thomas is here, you're spearheading this. You're the number one guy. But I think there's still a realistic shot he's not here after this season, and they're looking at it as, well, we're going to this next wave of players.
My interpretation of this, and that's all it is, just my read on the situation, I don't think they know what their plan is, man.
I'd agree with that.
I don't think they have to have that answer today. It's okay that they don't have that today because the rest of the season should influence what you do in July. I understand all of that, and so this is not a critique or criticism. It's me saying I don't think they know, and I think that's part of why, like, if you're Robert Thomas, I'm guessing the deadline was a little bit confusing for you as well, because if you were looking for some guidance on what the plan was, it's kind of related to your future. And so if you end up going elsewhere, well, we're going into more of a rebuild. If you're still here, though, it is more of a traditional retool because he's the kind of guy that allows for that. If you don't have Robert Thomas, you need to find a new number one center. And that's going to take some time. It may be somebody that they get back in return, as Alex has been talking about. But in that event, they're probably like 19 years old. And you're talking about it being 3 to 5 years before they're fully matured into becoming whatever the fully formed version of that player is. So I think it's all tied to Thomas and Kyrou, regardless of what the plans are with them. And I don't think they currently know those plans with those respective players. So it would be difficult if you're in Tom Stillman's position, or if you're in Doug Armstrong's position, or if you're in Alexander Steen's position to describe this without fully knowing what the plans are, what the offers are going to be this offseason for those two players in particular. I think Parayko, you probably see some of the conversations rekindled in the offseason. It gives him more time to determine what his future plans are. I thought it was really interesting that they referenced Philip Broberg as a number one defenseman. I don't think that was by mistake. Tom Stillman specifically said Philip Broberg has developed into a number one defenseman in his comments here. That's noteworthy. Mm-hmm. If you have a number one defenseman on your team already, who's like 23 years old, it probably makes Colton Parayko more expendable now and in the future. So I find their situation to still be really fascinating. And I don't think they know the answers to these questions just as much as on the outside looking in, we don't know the answers.
That's kind of why, like, going into this interview today with Tom Stillman, I'm kind of just under the impression he doesn't know the direction. Like, it's the chairman of the Blues, and he's having conversations, but I don't think Doug and Steen know the direction of this team. I think they have a couple of different envelopes on their table of, envelope A is, yeah, we're going to trade Robert Thomas. If these teams come back to the table and are willing to pay the price for it because it makes sense in the long-term health of the team. Option B on the table in front of them is, no, we're not going to move these guys. Maybe we move a couple of pieces, but we're going to keep on track with this. And option C is, who knows? Like, I feel like it's just an unknown offseason that they're going into, which is a hard spot to be in when there's still 16 games left to be played. We've talked about this ad nauseum. I look at Robert Thomas, I see what he's doing, and it's hard for me to believe that you could trade that guy. So, yeah, if I'm Tom Stillman, I say the direction of the team is still based on Thomas and Kyrou. But there is a realistic chance that neither of those guys are on this team going into next season, which then that path that you're on, that direction that you're headed, it looks a lot different than the conversation he had with JR and Matt DeFranks yesterday.
Yeah, and I think what makes it so much harder, because, like, I agree. I don't think reading these comments, I'm not sure that they know what their plan is just yet. I think they lean towards enter rebuild because otherwise I don't think you float Robert Thomas's name at the trade deadline. But what makes this harder is, this isn't a conversation of, well, he just definitely fits outside your timeline, so he is a obvious trade candidate when you get to the offseason. That's not the case for Thomas because he's, 1 year off what they've designated as the cutoff line of 25 years old. He's 26. You don't just trade a Robert Thomas to trade Robert Thomas. You're trading him if you get the return that you are looking for. There's an argument they could make that, hey, you trade Binnington just to trade Binnington, right, in the offseason. Doesn't fit into the timeline. We want to give it to another backup goaltender. Maybe we get someone younger they look at. Maybe it's the prospect they brought in. But there is no, you just trade Robert Thomas to trade Robert Thomas. You have to get their value for him. I think they're leaning towards the rebuild, but they can only do that if they get what they deem as fair value for Robert Thomas.
And here's a question that I'm fascinated to ask Tom Stillman because we've heard Doug mention this. I don't believe they have an appetite for a full rebuild. I don't believe Tom Stillman and the ownership group have an appetite to trade Thomas and Kyrou and just go get a ton of young assets and be bad for the next 5 years. And we'll see what his answer is, and then we can run with it from there. But if that's the case, then you try and retool on the fly. You hope that Carbonneau is good. You hope that Jiricek is good. You don't trade Robert Thomas, and you go after maybe a big name that's out there. But the fact that these guys were floated around at the trade deadline, you just don't forget about this. You just don't have all of the rumors and the noise of these guys could be traded, and then you go into the offseason and be like,
pretend nothing happened.
Yeah, no, we're in the offseason, we're going to be fun, and next year will be great. That's going to be in the back of their head. There's going to be the same conversations they had going into the deadline about the direction of the Blues out of the deadline, and that's where I find the decision. I still feel like this is a fork in the road, and you're not going to know until the dust settles on free agency and trade deadline.
He's Alex. That's T-Bone. I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN from the 314. By the way, the text line, 314-399-9646 from the 314. I want to listen to sports radio, but this Robert Thomas talk is draining. I get it. I don't blame you. I find it to be draining as well. I've talked about this repeatedly. I do not think they should trade Robert Thomas. I do not think that is the right move for where they're at, and I do not think it is the right kind of thing to do in order to accelerate the timeline. I think it puts you back, not forward. But they clearly had conversations about it. I think it's going to be, I agree with Alex, a conversation once again in the offseason. And so the rest of this year, I would say, I thought there were going to be other things that we were watching as the number one storyline. I think Robert Thomas is arguably the number one storyline the rest of the way.
I agree.
That's crazy, but I think that's where we're at. And I will also be very curious to see who is going to be making the calls on that in the offseason between Doug Armstrong and Alexander Steen, who ultimately has final say here. I don't think we have a true answer on that, and I'm not sure that we're going to for quite some time. We may never get an honest answer on that publicly. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's 11:16. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. We're going to talk to Joey Vitale coming up in about 15 minutes, the Blues analyst for 101 ESPN and FanDuel Sports Midwest. He'll be on the call tonight for the Blues versus the Hurricanes. You'll be able to hear that right here on 101 ESPN. Alex has an early pregame tonight starting at 5 o'clock. But coming up next, man, I think Thomas Saggese came into spring training as the favorite to win the left field job. I'm not sure if that remains the case, and I think it might be because he made a questionable decision to go to the WBC. We'll talk about that next here on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. So the Cardinals today in their lineup, Alex, have Nelson Velazquez in right field. They have Nathan Church in left field. And they have Jose Fermin at second base. I mention that because all three of them are currently in contention to potentially be the opening day left fielder. I did not mention Thomas Saggese there because he is not currently on the Cardinals roster. He is playing for Team Italy in the WBC, and I understand the decision to go to the WBC. I don't blame him necessarily for doing so. It seems like this would be a really cool event to be a part of. It's the kind of thing that, I mean, there's a chance this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Thomas Saggese. So to be able to go do this, it's a really cool thing. However, he's also in a competition right now, Alex, to be the starting left fielder for the St. Louis Cardinals. And ultimately, Major League Baseball, I would assume, has been his dream forever. So this opportunity, it's possible it's passing him by. Because Lars Nootbaar is going to be back eventually. I don't know when exactly, but at some point he's going to be back in the fold. You do have a few guys right now that, according to Ollie Marmol today in a conversation with the reporters there, including Derek Gould of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, he said he put these three, Velazquez, Church, and Fermin, in the lineup to be able to see all three of them against the same pitcher as part of this competition for the opening day left field spot. Yeah, they can evaluate what Saggese's doing in the WBC. Here's the problem. He's barely playing in the WBC, and so far he's 0 for 6. He entered yesterday, I think it was, as a defensive replacement late in the game as the game was basically over. I don't know what all of this is going to mean long-term, Alex, but I'm not getting the warm, fuzzy feeling about Thomas Saggese, who I thought was going to be the opening day left fielder coming into spring training.
Yeah, and I think when he went to the WBC, it was probably hey, you're at the front of the line. Like, we believe you are the guy that's going to be in left field, so go out there and get your reps. But as training camp has gone along, I mean, you kind of Wally Pip yourself to where you're not here, and these guys are getting reps, and they look really good. I don't know. Maybe it's just because of the sense of where the Cardinals are at in this rebuild or whatever. I still feel like when Saggese returns, even for how good these guys are playing, Saggese's going to get the upper hand in left field because they want to see what it looks like at the major league level. Now, I understand if you go out there and don't get any reps, you go 0 for whatever in for Team Italy at the World Baseball Classic, and you come back and Velazquez or somebody is just dominating, then, yeah, they make their decisions pretty harder. But for some reason, it just feels as if Saggese was at the front of the line. They told him, you're going over, that's fine. Go get those work in. We believe it's the same type of reps you're going to get here at spring training. When you come back, you're still going to be the guy for us in left field. Maybe I'm wrong on this one. There's a chance you do lose it if these guys go out there and dominate. I just hear those names you're putting in front of me, and they can do whatever they want at spring training. It would make more sense to let Thomas Saggese have the runway early on in the season.
If he earns it. But his runway to earn it is going to be remarkably limited.
I kind of wondered if he earned it last season in the year when he played for the Cardinals.
But he wasn't good last year. And I think that's the thing that can hurt him here is it'd be one thing if he came up and he was a guy that was, 5% above league average. He was not. He was not a guy that was above league average offensively last year. And as much as we want to talk about, well, maybe he's a versatile player, right? Well, Fermin's doing that. Fermin's taking the most at-bats in spring training, and he's now at second base today. He was at center field, in center field yesterday or 2 days ago. He's played in left. We've seen him. He can play shortstop in a pinch if need be. He could play third base in a pinch if need be. So, well, it's not like he just has a tool that Fermin doesn't have. Fermin's a versatile player. Velazquez is a guy that, they give off mixed reports like, we really want a power bat in left field. We really want this thump from the right side. And I look at Saggese and go, well, that's not him. But, man, Velazquez is doing that so far through spring training. I think it's possible he has Wally pipped himself. Because if you're going to believe what they're saying, and they keep saying it publicly, it's not like it's just something that just kind of floats out there from the backfields of, when they really love a right-handed bat. No, it's publicly they keep saying, we really want some thump from the right side. We really want that. And that's why we brought in Velazquez on a non-roster invitee. He looks to be earning that spot. He's having a very good spring training. And you know what? If he's not good in 2 weeks, you can just DFA him, and then you can recall Thomas Saggese if he's not on the big league roster. And Saggese's just not getting at bats with Team Italy. I think we assumed he was going to be a guy that was going to just become the everyday shortstop. He went 0 for 4. They turned it over to the other guy that they've got now, and he's run away with it because he's better defensively, and he's been performing better.
Here's an odd question. As much as Thomas Saggese Wally pipped himself, has Jordan Walker screwed over Thomas Saggese? In the sense of they want that thump from the right side, and Jordan Walker obviously isn't providing it. They know Walker's going to play in the outfield, and it's like, well, look, if Saggese's not doing it and this guy's providing thump, then we need him in the outfield too.
Maybe. I think more of that is like they need to replace some of what you had last year from Wilson Contreras, and there's really no other place where you can go to find it. So I guess, yeah, because you're not getting it from Walker, you need it from somewhere else. So that's possible, but I think they're just looking for production. If Saggese was the best guy and he had earned this opportunity coming out of camp, I think he would have started. But they haven't really seen much of Thomas Saggese in camp, and now they haven't seen much of him at the WBC either. Thomas Saggese in spring training has 9 at-bats. He now has 6 in the WBC. So he has 15 at-bats since they reported for spring training. And that's just not a big sample size. For context, we've seen 23 of them from Nelson Velazquez. And he's starting today where he's going to get even more. There's not another opportunity probably for Thomas Saggese. Like, he lost his starting job for Team Italy. So over the next week, we're probably not going to see any Thomas Saggese. That would be my guess. So you're going to get 15 at-bats up until like this time next week from Saggese, and you'll have 30-ish from Nelson Velazquez. That's half of the appearances. It's just not a big sample size to be able to learn about Saggese. Somebody from the 314 said, guys, this is our version of the Olympics. I'm just never going to bash anybody for going to play for their country. This is a terrible take. I know this is going to be an unpopular opinion, and I understand what I'm about to say. There will be some that vehemently disagree with it. However, there are players that teams don't want to go play for their country. I don't think that the Cardinals, and this is my belief in the situation, I don't think the Cardinals wanted Ivan Herrera to go play for Team Panama. I think there's a reason that he's still in spring training. And I don't think it's because Ivan Herrera just said, like, yeah, I'm going to skip the WBC. I think he really wanted to go. And I think the Cardinals probably, this is speculation by me. I'm guessing the Cardinals went to him and said, hey, if you want to be a catcher, you're going to need to do that in spring training. We need you to be here to work with our coaching staff to see where you're at. Otherwise, we can't guarantee that you're going to get that opportunity early in spring. Now, he's been hurt, so it ultimately didn't really matter either way. But I think that was the plan going in, was for him to get those opportunities behind the plate so he could become that for the Cardinals. And I would say the same conversation might have also been there for Thomas Saggese, where it's like, hey, man, you can go. We're never going to stop you from going to play for your country, nor should they. But you have to understand, if you don't get those opportunities there, and we don't get to see what it looks like for you in left field, or we don't get to see what it looks like for you to go up against legit pitching, it can be used against you. And it's certainly not going to help you that you're going to this event. So it's something that a lot of young players have to take into consideration when they go to events like this. Tarek Skubal, he left the event for a reason. He wanted to be on track to start opening day for his major league club. That is ultimately the priority for all of these teams. Tarek Skubal's getting paid millions of dollars by the Detroit Tigers. He's getting a whole lot of nothing other than pride from the WBC. And that matters, don't get me wrong, but the priority there is the Tigers. And the priority, I would think, for Thomas Saggese is the Cardinals. So I do think that that is something that these guys have to keep into consideration. And in future years, I would imagine it's something that the Cardinals will be talking about with their young players that consider an event like this. Hey, is it worth it for you to go there, or is it better for you to stay here to be a part of this competition? Because look at what the cautionary tale is with Thomas Saggese, who potentially ends up in AAA in part because he went to this event.
Yeah, and as much as like teams, I'm sure, don't want some guys to go, it's also like what you're saying there is the player has to decide as well. I don't think the Tigers were the ones that called back Skubal. I think they definitely wanted him back. I think Skubal went back to the Tigers because he knows that the free agency payday he's going to get in the offseason. 3 years from now, my expectation is Skubal's pitching for Team USA and he stays through the whole event. I think with Bo Bichette signed his big contract. He decided, hey, look, I'm learning a new position. It's more valuable for me as a player not to go to the WBC where they would either play me at shortstop or not even play me at all, but stick with my team and stay at third base. Pete Alonso, another guy that said he received an offer from Team Italy to play for them. And he said, I just signed with a new team. I want to be around them because I'm supposed to be setting the example as a clubhouse guy. I need to stay here. Wasn't even an Orioles decision. The Orioles probably wouldn't have cared if Alonso went. But some of those guys have to make the decisions, and right now it's looking like Saggese went to Team Italy, probably thought he was going to be the starting shortstop, quickly lost that job and now is not only looking at losing the job for Team Italy, but also, to your point, potentially going to be riding buses between Memphis and wherever they're going to be playing this season.
And that was always a possibility. So you just, this is something that you have to take it into consideration. And maybe Saggese says it was all worth it. That's entirely possible. Maybe he looks back and says, this is the kind of event that I may never have a chance to be a part of again. And Team Italy is pretty damn good, by the way. Let's not lose sight of that. They could really contend in this tournament. So maybe he decides that this is worthwhile for him. But it's something to consider. And I do think that the Cardinals clearly have a competition for left field. Saggese was part of it. And now he might be on the outside looking in. It's a big deal, man. Nelson Velazquez might have taken his spot. And if he's not going to be your starting left fielder on opening day, you can't really find a spot for him for regular at-bats. I think he probably does start in AAA. I think it makes more sense for Nathan Church to be a backup. I think it makes more sense for Jose Fermin to be a backup on this team. And that very well might mean that Nelson Velazquez not only took his spot in left field, Nelson Velazquez might take his spot on the roster. That sucks, but it's the reality. The big leagues are a cold-hearted place, and it's not for the faint heart, man. If you make a decision like this, you got to deal with some of the consequences, and this may be a consequence of Thomas Saggese making the decision to go to the WBC, for better or for worse. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll get into questions and answers. A little bit of an audible here. Joey Vitale going to join us at 12 o'clock. So our guy Joey Vitale coming up here in about 30 minutes. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. NFL Quick Hitters is next here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here, the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Blues back in action tonight as they visit the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 5 o'clock with Alex Ferrario. Puck drop at 6 o'clock with Chris Carber and Joey Vitale. And Missouri is underway in the second round of the SEC tournament as they've just tipped off against Kentucky. They are tied at 7 apiece with 4 minutes into half number one. We'll keep you updated on the Missouri score throughout the day today here on 101 ESPN. And the Cardinals be in spring action day against the Mets. Michael McGreevy will be on the hill for St. Louis. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
All right, it's time for some NFL quick hitters alongside Alex and T-Bone. I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Do you guys think anybody's really changed the way you view them as a team after free agency has kind of come and went? I think it's 2 of the top 40 free agents are still available. One of those 2 is Kyler Murray, who it sure seems like is going to the Vikings. More on that here in a moment.
Yeah, the Ravens are stone cold killers out there with the moves that they make. That was an opinion that I had that I didn't have. The 49ers have changed my opinion on them. I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with now with Mike Evans. Got a D-tackle yesterday as well from the Cowboys who just signed a deal, and he is now 1 year into it, and he's going to the 49ers. Yeah, so that's the team. And I guess if you look at a team in terms of like kind of that meme of poking them with a stick, like do something, the Dallas Cowboys. Like I know they were after Trey Hendrickson, haven't acquired any more help on the defensive side of things where they were pretty bad last year. That's the team that I kind of look at and be like, all right, so you're cool with just being mediocre again this season.
T-Bone?
Team for me would be the Chiefs adding Kenneth Walker.
Whoa!
I think it's
Jeez, what did he do? Pay you before you came on the show today?
Yeah, it was my Venmo. But I just think it's a huge upgrade for him. Like, you look at their running game last year. They were not explosive at all.
BK yelled at me when I brought that up in the past.
I know, but
so he was fine.
He was wrong. Their running game was terrible last year. It had no explosiveness to it. It was like watching
shut up, man.
It was watching a bunch of slow turtles run the football. There was just nothing there. And then you add on top of that, they were without their most explosive pass catcher for the first 6 games, Rashee Rice, and they never really got into rhythm. And now they add Kenneth Walker to the equation, and he's a guy that can bring that explosive run game in, which then helps set up that play action with Patrick Mahomes. I still don't know what they're doing with their wide receiver room. We'll see. My guess is they're either Tyreek Hill or they're going to the draft and drafting somebody with their first-round pick. And they added a second first-round pick by trading McDuffie away that they got from the LA Rams. So they've got 2 first-round picks in this year's draft. I love what the Chiefs have done so far as they're trying to kind of retool this on the fly. They brought back Travis Kelce, whatever, that's an okay re-signing. I mean, it was either he's going to be a Chief or he retires. But he was good last year for them. So I like what they have done to try and upgrade their offense.
I do as well. If I'm going to go with a winner, though, let's just go ahead and switch teams, T-Bone.
Good, I didn't want to vote for my own team.
It's the Rams. Their biggest issue last year was their secondary. Now, they've got some pass rush stuff as well, but I think they've got enough guys there that they're going to be fine. They also have the 13th overall selection to potentially take another defensive lineman there as well. But Jalen Watson's awesome. He's a really good outside corner. You add him to the mix. He's also really good against the run. He's physical. He can do a lot of the things that the Rams corners, frankly, were just incapable of doing because of their size last year. And then you add in Trent McDuffie, who might be the best pure slot corner in the NFL right now. And it seems like they're going to be planning to put him back into the slot after making this signing with Jalen Watson. They've completely remade their secondary with 2 additions. Now, they paid a very hefty price to do so. Gave up a first and a future 3rd-round pick for Trent McDuffie, then made him the highest paid cornerback in the NFL. Then they turned around and paid $17 million a year, $34 million guaranteed to Jalen Watson. It's a lot of money and a big asset to give up to pay for these corners. I don't care. If the goal is to win the championship, and that is the goal for the LA Rams this year, this is the way that they give themselves the best opportunity to do so. So I'll go with the LA Rams as the team that is the biggest winner so far. And they've really only made those 2 moves. That's kind of it. There's nothing else that's happened for the Rams, but those are 2 moves that are big enough to be worthy of putting them into this consideration.
It's cute that you guys picked each other's favorite teams.
Another team that I like, if you want me to go away from his favorite team, I kind of like what Buffalo's done so far this year. You go out and you trade for DJ Moore from the Chicago Bears, which I think is a solid trade.
I think it was a little bit of an overpay for him.
It's
But
fair, but when you're desperate, you have to give up a little bit more than you want. And then you go out and you sign Bradley Chubb, which it sounded like they were kind of connected to Trey Hendrickson if the market fell to him. So then you just pivot and you go out and sign Bradley Chubb, which is a nice addition on the edge.
They added a corner in D. Alford. He's fine.
Yeah, like I kind of like what they've done. They've done like marginal improvements, but they got at least a wide receiver that I think Josh Allen can go to now in DJ Moore. I know he kind of fell out of favor in Chicago. I still think DJ Moore's a really good target to add to that offense for Josh Allen.
he's a deep threat, which, I mean, it's rare that Josh Allen has had deep threats since Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of slot guys.
It's more than I can say about the other team in the AFC East, the Patriots.
Yeah.
I look at them and go, wait, you're basically the same team, except you just handed out money to
I like the Dobbs
from
addition.
Green Bay.
I think Dobbs is a little bit better than Stephon Diggs if he can stay healthy.
I'll go with one more honorable mention. I think Washington's had a really interesting couple of days. I'm not sure how great they're going to be, but on the defensive side of the ball, they've added the following players since the start of free agency. Now, they had a lot of money to spend, so they should have gotten a lot better. But Odafe Oweh, who is a really good defensive end, I think they overpaid for him.
Yeah.
But he's a good player.
Theme
He's
of
going to
the
help them.
market.
Leo Chanel, who's a really good player in a specific role. Tim Settle, who's a nice defensive tackle. Amik Robertson, who can help them in the slot as a corner. Nick Cross, who's a very good box safety. Kaylavon Chason, who had a pretty good breakout season last year for the Patriots. We'll see if he's able to continue that. He was in a very good situation. But if he can, he and Odafe Oweh are now playing edge rusher for them. They needed that desperately. Leo Chanel is a guy that, as a blitzer, is very good. He's going to add a little bit more as a pass rusher. And then Nick Cross can help them against the run. That was a defense that was awful last year. They couldn't stop a nosebleed.
They were old, too.
I think they're going to be a little better this year. So Washington had an interesting free agency as well for me. Next thing that I wanted to get to. It is now official. Kyler Murray has been cut. He's going to sign with somebody for the veteran league minimum because he's not going to make more than he was with Arizona. He's got offset language. So in other words, plain English, there's no reason for him to take the highest dollar figure. He's just going to go to the best situation possible. It sure sounds as though he's going to the Minnesota Vikings, Alex. I think that's going to happen at some point sooner rather than later. Could I convince you that Minnesota's a playoff team with Kyler Murray on it?
Yeah, you could convince me. I mean,
could I convince you that Minnesota is better than Detroit in Green Bay with Kyler Murray on it?
Better than Green Bay, yes.
Why not Detroit?
Because I just think Detroit's got better playmakers on their offense.
But their line sucks.
Well, Minnesota's lost a couple of their line players as well. So,
but their defense is great. Meanwhile, Detroit's
Didn't they lose
defense
some pieces
sucks.
from their defense?
Yeah, they lost two of their defensive linemen.
They've got Brian Flores. Their defense is going to be fine.
Detroit was also banged up a lot last season. I think Minnesota and Detroit are probably even with each other, and I'd give the slight edge to Detroit because I think they've got more dynamic playmakers. I don't trust Kyler. You could convince me they're going to be better than what they were last season, and you could convince me they're going to be better than your Packers because they got nobody to throw the football to. But I still think they're probably at best second in the division, probably third in the division.
Yeah, you can't convince me the Vikings are a playoff team with Kyler. I'm not going to buy into the defense again because losing a couple pieces. I get what you're saying with Brian Flores. I like Brian Flores. Defense can change quickly, and if their defense isn't elite, I'm not trusting Kyler. Kyler to me is a below average quarterback, and I don't think even he can turn around that Vikings offense from last year. It'll be better than what JJ McCarthy and the backups were behind JJ McCarthy. That's a low bar to clear, though. I can't see Kyler Murray guiding this team to the playoffs. I can't. I think they are either second or third in that division. And if they're second in the division, I still don't think it's a playoff team because I think you're getting multiple teams from the West and potentially multiple from the East.
I think you got 3 in the West. You probably have 2, maybe 3 in the East, depending on what Washington and Dallas do this season, which you got 1 in the NFC South. So, I mean, I don't know if there's going to be enough.
They're not winning the division over the Bears.
Yeah, I don't know if there's going to be enough.
I'm not ready to say
spots.
that.
Not win the division over the Bears?
Hot take. Technically, the Vikings were third in their division last year, but they had the same record as the Lions, so I'm going to go ahead and go this direction. I think the Vikings are the most likely worst to first team.
Well, they can't be worst, man. They weren't worst.
I know. Again, they were tied with the Detroit
I go
Lions.
off the actual standings. I'd say they were third.
I think they're going to be really good.
I think you have way too much faith in Kyler Murray.
I don't think Kyler's good. I think he's like a significant upgrade, though, on what they had last year. with JJ McCarthy.
I agree.
And
I
last
still
year they
think
were
it's
9-8.
Yeah, but I don't think their defense is going to be as elite as they were last year. I think they're going to have a setback there.
I think they might be a little worse defensively and significantly better offensively. Did you know last year their quarterbacks combined for 18 touchdowns? Do you know how many interceptions their quarterbacks threw last year?
Probably about as many as Kyler's going to throw this year.
How many interceptions? Again, the Vikings
They had one guy that threw like
quarterbacks
6 in a game, so it's
the
going to be
Vikings
high.
quarterbacks. The Vikings quarterbacks threw 17 touchdowns. Because Cam Akers threw another.
Did he throw a pick?
He was a quarterback.
No. How many interceptions? They threw 17 touchdowns. How many interceptions do you think that their quarterbacks threw?
25.
Very close, Alex. 21 interceptions. So 17 touchdowns, 21 picks. I'm supposed to think that team isn't going to get significantly better with Kyler Murray, who, even if you hate him, even if you think he's awful, is like the 15th to 17th best quarterback in the NFL.
He'll give you double-digit interceptions, though, and I don't think your defense keeps you in as many football games. Here's the thing of what I think
also rush for like 800 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Here's what I think happens with Kyler Murray. He gets way too horned up to have Justin Jefferson out there to where he can heave the football, and he starts throwing, and you start throwing interceptions. Like, you can convince me because I think that Vikings team just needs somebody that has any type of accuracy in their bones to hit Justin Jefferson and their weapons.
I think Kyler's that, man. I think
also
we're underestimating him as a quarterback.
See him behind the line.
That's not nice.
As much as
true, but not nice.
As much as Kyler can make them
There's a
better,
new Call of Duty coming out.
he can also hurt that team.
He can't hurt them more than their quarterbacks did last year.
He can hurt them just as much as they got hurt last year.
Nah, I don't disagree there. I don't think he can hurt them, but I'm not sure he's going to be
JJ McCarthy and Carson
better.
Wentz was the worst starting quarterback duo in the NFL last year.
I think you're underselling what Kyler Murray is.
I think you are underselling what Kyler Murray is, but in a positive way. You're selling you
I am selling you exactly what Kyler Murray is.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, a lot of people were giving Mizzou their last rites as they were down 14-7 about 5 minutes into this game. Guess what, boys and girls?
They're still trailing.
They are now down 16-12. When I started saying that, though, that was 14-12.
They're still trailing, man.
And it was an easy basket they gave up.
Yeah, they're just giving up stuff in the paint.
Mizzou's going to be just fine.
Just missed a layup.
I want going to the line. It's fine.
Yeah, because they're good at the line this season.
They are, actually. They're pretty decent there. Well, some other guys are.
Weren't they awful?
Sean Phillips, however, not. He's the one that's going to the line. He is definitely not one of those players. All right. If you guys want to get involved in the show, the way to do so is 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line. In 15 minutes, we'll talk to Joey Vitale, who just got done talking with the Blues head coach, Jim Montgomery. Alex, on the other side, we'll get to questions and answers, and we'll get the latest update on what the lineup will look like tonight for the Blues. It sounds like there will be a switch or two as a part of this. We'll get into that next here on 101 ESPN. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. Alex, there are some revisions to the Blues lineup tonight. Sounds like Jonathan Drouin is going to leave to go get some clothes. So he's out. What is the updated lineup going to look like?
Yeah, so they basically said we allowed Drouin to go home to get more clothes because the poor guy was in the midst of a long road trip with the Islanders, and then he gets traded to the Blues. He goes back to St. Louis and then goes back out to Carolina. So he'll come back with the Blues tomorrow in St. Louis. So Suter moves up, and Nathan Walker joins the lineup. So I'll run through the lines for you. It's 81, 18, and 21.
Stop.
It's Holloway. It's Thomas.
Go ahead. Tell me the lineup with Dalibor Dvorsky's number.
Yeah, who needed help on that
54.
one today?
54 is
now you
Dalibor
know it.
Dvorsky's number.
You're welcome.
Holloway, Thomas, Snuggerud. It's Buchnevich on the wing with Suter and Stenberg. Neighbors, Dvorsky, and Kyrou. And then Walker with Finley and Alexei Toropchenko. Defense stays the same. They didn't say goaltender, so we'll find out from Joe who the starting goalie is. My guess is it was an optional today. My assumption would be this is a Jordan Binnington start.
314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. From the 314, guys, I'm in need of some positivity. I'm on a plane right now to Carolina as we speak, going to the game tonight. What do you got for me?
Is it positivity because I'm on the plane or positivity I'm going to Carolina?
Probably positivity about the Blues.
Oh, I thought they were like you that, panics when you're on an airplane.
I don't do that anymore. I got a medicine. I'm good now.
I heard that medicine didn't help all that.
Positivity for the Blues. They have one of the best goalies in the NHL over the last 3 months. And Jimmy Snuggerud has been one of the best young players in the league for the better part of a month now.
And defensively, they've been a really good team. I think they've given up 14 goals since they've returned from the Olympic break. And with the exception of that Islanders game, I mean, they have been a very stingy team, and they have just been better as a full 60-minute squad. So this, to me, is going to be about as big of a test as they're going to have until the month of April, because Carolina hounds the puck like nobody in the National Hockey League. They're aggressive. They've got a lot of skill. This one is going to be very fascinating to see how guys like Dvorsky, Stenberg, Lindstein all fare against Carolina.
From Splashback Deuce over in the YouTube chat, is there a station quota for NFL segments? Please refrain from applying tone.
Wow.
The honest thing, I didn't know. Like, we get to choose. We don't have anybody tell us what to do. It's one of the things that's...
You don't have anybody that tells you what to do. T-Bone and I have people that tell us what to do.
It's great about working here at 101 is, some places, bosses have their hands in what you talk about on the air. That is not the case here. We are very fortunate. They don't tell us what to do. We have full creative control over what we talk about on the show. So we get to decide what we want to talk about day to day, and we determine what the biggest topics are. You guys can choose whether or not we're good at that. But I think generally speaking, when the NFL has some news going on, 1 to 2 topics on the NFL a day is not a bad thing. Mm-hmm. We're typically around 1. And if it's like the big news cycle, free agencies going on, we'll go a couple. But here in St. Louis, we typically like to have at least 1 Cardinal segment and 1 Blues segment every hour. That's kind of the way that we format things. Everybody's a little different, though. So for us, that's the way we go.
Here's your tagline. BK and Ferrario. If you're talking about it, we're talking about it.
More or less. From Landon Alexander over in the YouTube chat, what is your favorite thing to discuss on the show? I like talking about the Cardinals.
I like BK's tone.
No, you don't.
Oh no, yeah, you're right. I don't. Mine's obviously Blues. I do like when we get off of topic with sports and get into other stuff. Yeah, like I think that brings out our personality and why do people want to listen to us? Yes, it's for the sports information, but I also think you listen because we're fun to listen to. So like when you can showcase your personality, it makes people want to listen a little bit more.
Splashback Deuce over in the YouTube chat said you have music or bed music for it. I was just wondering. So the bed music is something that we've always done on the station. This is honestly something that I don't know the correct answer to. I think previously, once upon a time, it was something related to ratings. I don't know exactly what it had to do with. It was something about the I don't know. That's what I was told once upon a time. I don't think that's still the case anymore. I don't know. I like the NFL bed, so that's why we do it there. Like, why do we do it for questions and answers? Because we've always done it. It's a bad answer. It's the honest to God answer, though. Why do we do it for the Open? I don't know. That's what they've always done on Opens here on 101.
We
And
can
so
make
when
it
I
go
got
away
here,
right now.
that was the original explanation
It
for it.
seems weird without
You
the
feel
audio.
naked right now?
Yeah, I do.
I don't know.
This is like, believe it or not, when Bradford doesn't turn the volume up.
Yeah. So it's something we could talk about. Like, should we be doing bed music or not? I don't know.
Do you like bed music? Do you like this? Because I hate this right now.
I think it's fine.
No, my insides are like,
Oh, here, I'll make you feel more at peace.
thank you. Like,
And now it's gone.
I don't like this.
I think this is fine.
I need my medicine right
But
now.
I do think there are some that like it. It keeps it going. It keeps the energy. So I don't know. Everybody's a little different.
It's a
Do you
good
guys like the bed
explanation,
music?
man. I just told you I like the bed music, man.
Do you, T-Bone?
I don't know. I'm kind of like you. It doesn't bother me if it's there. It doesn't bother me if it's not. It
very
does make me
uncomfortable.
remember what segment we're doing. Like, I hear this Ben go, okay, it's questions and
It's
answers.
very uncomfortable
And
for
then
me.
there's times like when I'm podcasting, I can't remember where I stopped at. So I go to click on a segment, and if I don't hear bed music, I have to listen longer. If I hear bed music, I can associate, okay, this is either the Open, this is questions and answers, this is NFL quick hitters, this is in or out or one of those on that day, and then this is the rewind. So it does help me kind of pinpoint where I'm at when it comes to podcasting, but I could do it without
I get the sweats without it, so please keep it up.
Coming up next, Joey Vitale here on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Happy to go out to the Callier and Thompson hotline to be joined by our friend, the Blues analyst for 101 ESPN and FanDuel Sports Midwest. He's Joey Vitale joining us live from Carolina. Joe, appreciate the time, man. How you doing today?
Joey! Do you even know what city you're in right now?
What's up, boys? What's up?
Joey, do you know where you're at right now? What time zone you're in?
I have no idea.
Joey, so people that may not have
Where
known this,
am I?
so the game on
Where are Carolina? Are they in Raleigh?
Yeah, they're in Raleigh.
Okay.
The other night, the last Blues game, it was a 6:30 puck drop, which means we had a 5:30 pregame. And so Joey rolled into the broadcast booth, and he sat down at like 5:20, and he's just kind of sitting there getting his work done before the broadcast. And I go on air at 5:30 with pregame, and he looks over at Jim Hewer, our broadcast engineer, and he goes, "What's Alex doing?" Jim's like, "He's going live." And Joe's like, "We don't start till 6." And he's like, "No, we go live at 5:30. And Joe put his headset on. He's like, "Oh, I didn't know we were starting right now." This poor guy, Joe. You've been everywhere, man.
I have no idea what was going on that day. It's like a big twilight zone. But no, I think we're in the East Coast, which is weird because the Eastern Conference, I feel like we wrapped up like months ago, where Carolina was the only stop we still had in the Eastern time zone. And it's kind of, this game, not to vent here, but this game, it feels like it was just like a throw-in. Like, at the end of the year, like they did the schedule, they had 81 games. Like, okay, we got to get him to Carolina. I don't know, put him right here. Like, let's just chuck him in there right before Edmonton in the middle of a little bit of a homestand before they go out and spend their entire next 7 weeks in the West Coast in Canada and California.
How do you think Pittsburgh feels that their second to last game of the regular season, they have to come to St. Louis for an 8:30 puck drop?
Yeah, it's another one, national game, like for Pittsburgh. And you know what? Doesn't look like St. Louis is going to find themselves in a meaningful game. You never know, of course, but doesn't seem like they're going to be in a meaningful game on that last home game at the Enterprise Center there. But for Pittsburgh, who's right in the thick of it, that's kind of a tough one for them now to jump to the Central Division on one of their final games ultimately. But yeah, I think that, like I said, the scheduled people, I don't know how they do the math on all of it and they get it all organized. It must be some sort of computer system. And but I do feel like there are like 2 to 3 games a year where you look at the schedule and you're like, how in the heck do you figure this one out of all the places to put in the schedule? It's right here. But I do think there are some of those filler games based off of the building opportunity. And but no, we are in Carolina. And like I said, you hope to turn the page if you're the players, because this is one you do not want to sleep through, because Carolina is a complete wagon right now, one of the best teams in the league, certainly probably the best team in the Eastern Conference, and we'll talk about in the Open tonight, Alex, but a team that in reality, you look at how the Florida Panthers have been in their way for the last 3 seasons, does not look like Florida is going to make the postseason this year with all their injuries. So I think Carolina's going for it. They got the belief system that they can probably do it this year.
17-3-3, I believe it is, in their last 23 games. Just an absolutely ridiculous tear that they're on right now. And, Joe, I know you guys talked a lot to Jim Montgomery a little bit ago about the defense and the way that they're going to be structured tonight, especially with Logan Mailloux, who's going up against such a good Carolina Hurricanes team. What did you learn about what they're expecting from Mailloux and what they've seen from him recently to give him this big opportunity in the lineup?
Well, yeah, it's an opportunity that was certainly earned for Logan. You look at the progression of his entire season. I was texting with Curbs a little bit this morning, but his first 5 games as a St. Louis Blue, listen to these numbers: 14 minutes, 8 minutes, 12 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes. All right, those are his time on ice in his first 5 as a Blue, with a couple healthy scratches mixed in there as well. You look at look at the last 5 games: 20, 22, 25, 20 plus, 24. Right there, it shows you where he's at now to where he started. He's averaging over 10 more minutes of ice time in his last 5 games than when he started in his first 5 as a St. Louis Blue. That's a big jump, guys. And certainly losing Justin Falk last week is a big reason for that. Colton Parayko's back spasms, another reason for that. Those are your top 2 right-handed shot defensemen. But it's an opportunity he slid into with the trade and the injury. And you have to give him a ton of credit because he really has shown up in a great way. He's defended well. Jim Montgomery called him assertive. at the beginning of the year, I think he was thinking and overthinking. This game is too fast to think, right? You can't be thinking out there because when you're thinking, you hesitate. When you hesitate, you fall behind. So he's just reading. He's reacting. He's just defenseman that's been jumping up in the rush, too. I mean, you got to go back to 2023 when he was in the Ontario Hockey League, which is a doggone good junior league in Canada, and he led all defensemen in goals, right? So you look at all of that. He's a player that's finally, I think it's really starting to come together. And, you look at the games where he's been playing a lot of ice time, like I just mentioned. These are no slouchy teams. I mean, these are teams in top of the division. These are all playoff teams, including the Minnesota Wild, which is one of the best teams right now in the National Hockey League at Minnesota. So 2 thumbs way up for Logan for what he's done. He'll be partnered again with Philip Broberg here tonight. And like Jim Montgomery talked about to me this morning, I asked him specifically about Logan on the top pair against this juggernaut of offense against Carolina. He said, geez, he kind of rolled his eyes, shrugged his shoulders, and it's kind of like a sink or swim moment for him where the test. He's excited about the challenge, but it is certainly something that Logan is going to have to be super sharp with here tonight as Carolina's offense, the forecheck, the deep pinching, they lead the league in attempts at the net, like second in as far as shots on goal. So it's going to be probably the ultimate test tonight for the 2 very young defenders in your top pair in Broberg and Mayu.
So, Joe, the one we talked a lot about after that game the other night was Robert Thomas and the hand injury and how he didn't take faceoffs the rest of that game. He's staying in the center position tonight. Do you believe he's still going to be kind of handcuffed in terms of not taking faceoffs, or has this thing healed up a little bit more to where he's going to be good to go?
Well, good news for you, Alex. Yeah, I asked him that specifically about an hour ago. He showed me his glove. The trainers actually had to sew the ring finger and the pinky finger on the glove together because he couldn't get his pinky in to the glove. So that's what took so long as far as when he was being reevaluated last game. It was also an equipment issue where he couldn't get his finger in his glove print there. So they made some readjustments. He's going to play with the same glove tonight. Pretty commendable, actually, the fact that he actually came back in that game with the injury that he sustained because it's not a comfortable one. But it was one he could play through. Face-offs were a challenge because it was his bottom hand, and if that got jammed up again as you're coming across the other guy's shaft there, that is a very, very tough thing to go through with a healthy hand, let alone an injured hand. So that's why he didn't come back and play and take any more face-offs the rest of that game. Did it have an impact in the game? Well, the Blues gave up a 3-goal lead. I certainly think it had some impact, especially when you go to overtime where he did not take a face-off. They couldn't really get him on the ice as much as probably Jim Montgomery wanted to because of the face-off situation. So I like to believe that it probably did have a little bit of an impact as he's your best face-off guy. Fast forward into tonight's game, does not look like he is going to be taking any more face-offs as well. The injury is still kind of hindering him enough where it looks like Dylan Holloway is going to be sliding into the start. I talked to Jimmy Snuggerud on the bus briefly when I found out that Robert's not going to be taking draws, and he said it's going to be Holloway's show until he struggles. So if Jimmy needs to come in, if Dylan Holloway's not winning any, he's going to jump in and take some. Doesn't really take a lot of face-offs, never really took a lot in college either. So really it's up to Dylan Holloway, hopefully tonight, to regain possession for this top line that has just been thriving, guys. I mean, between Holloway, Snuggerud, and Robert Thomas, they have been such a fun line to watch, and you're hoping that success continues tonight.
You'll be able to hear the full breakdown tonight as it goes along. Blues versus the Hurricanes in Carolina, we think. Pregame starts at 5. Puck drop for that one at 6. It's all right here on your home of the Blues, 101 ESPN. Joe, appreciate the time as always, man. Enjoy yourself out there. We'll talk with you again next week.
Sounds good, boys. You guys have a great week.
Take it easy. That's Joey Vitale joining us as he does each and every Thursday here on BK and Ferrario.
By the way, it is confirmed Bennington gets the start tonight. The Blues put it out there. What the hell, man?
I'm going to the game tomorrow.
Oh, you wanted to see a win tomorrow?
Mm-hmm. I hate both of you. I hope Bennington just shoves it both up of your can't finish this sentence.
He's actually been fine since the Olympics.
Yeah, he's been good the last. And guess what? He's playing well because the team's playing well.
Well,
or he's
playing well because he's locked in because he was playing in the Olympics.
Or he's seeing the puck a little bit better because the team's locked in.
Yeah, maybe.
I wouldn't go that far. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't go as far as you're putting it.
You sure?
I've got a lot of evidence this year that he's been.
Oh, do you? I got a lot of evidence this year.
About what?
About how he's been bad in front of them.
Yeah, he has been bad. Yeah, he's been bad in front of them. Yeah, I agree.
I got plenty of evidence.
I mean, the guy has an .868 save percentage.
Cool, man.
And the expected numbers are
worse than the NHL.
Congrats.
Yeah. Like That's not me exaggerating. They're literally worse than
Hard to
the
make
NHL.
a save when the puck's on the other side of the ice, when you're facing one way and the pass goes right through the crease.
The other guy did it.
Yeah.
No, he didn't.
Joel Hofer has just flat out been better than Jordan Binnington this year.
It's got to be weird on that island over there.
Sure.
I think you've had more than a case in previous years, Alex. It's just not there this year. But I hope he's great tonight. It'll be awesome.
This year.
They are legitimately at a 50-50 split now. Tonight will be the 35th game for Jordan Binnington. Joel Hofer has appeared in 35 games this season. In those games, Jordan Binnington 9-18-6. Joel Hofer 16-11-4 overall. Coming up in 15 minutes, is this the best case scenario for the Blues this offseason? We'll get into that coming up here in just a little bit. But next, I think this might be the fix for the WBC. But does it need to be fixed? We'll talk about that next here on 101 ESPN. Mizzou playing right now against Kentucky in the SEC tournament, down by 11 points. It's 37-26, a little bit more than a minute left to go in the first half. Defense for the first 5 minutes or so was abysmal. It's mostly been better ever since then. They just can't buy a bucket. At one point, they had missed 8 of 9 field goals from the field, and they just turned it over again. I mean, they're just not playing well offensively. Sean Phillips has been dealing with some foul trouble. He already has 3 fouls in this game. It's not looking good for Mizzou versus Kentucky. It looks like their season prior to the tournament, their resume will probably come to an end after today.
You want a Cardinals update after you
Please.
just gave a Mizzou one? Nelson Velasquez on a 2-2 pitch from Sean Manaea, Apo Taco 2-run homer.
I'm telling you, man.
His
Sean
third or
Manaea's not
fourth
any
home
good.
run in the last week, if I'm not mistaken.
Manaea's not any
It
good.
is not looking good for Thomas Saggese. And
Almost
Nelson
wants to win a car.
Velasquez is really making a case to make this team as the opening day starting left fielder. Now, I will warn people, as a Royals fan who got to see some of Nelson Velasquez,
Why are you trying to take the fun out of the spring
You're
training?
upset that he got moved from the Royals. I can understand that, man.
Yeah, this kind of power?
he's not very good.
Oh, okay.
So keep that in mind.
Gorman's 4-for-25, so he's better than him.
He's not very good. That he just said, I will warn Cardinals fans, the guy who's going to start in left field over Thomas Saggese, he's not very good.
Oh, Cardinals fans are going to hate him. He
Well,
strikes out he is Nolan Gorman. He strikes out a ton. He does not hit for average. He does not walk. Like, the only thing that he does well is he hits for power. Now, he's actually accessed it at the major league level to a pretty significant degree at times.
Guy looks pretty good from the last couple of times he's been in the major leagues.
Well, the last time that he was in the major leagues was 2024, and over the course of the season, he hit 200 and had a 640 OPS and was a negative in terms of his wins above
All
replacement.
I'm looking at is 2023 when he hit 17 total home runs between two teams.
You
I
mean
shouldn't
like
have-
what Jordan Walker did in 2023?
No, Jordan Walker didn't do that.
He did.
Yeah.
He literally did that, but was better overall.
I shouldn't take a shot at Gorman. He just tripled, so.
Did he?
Yeah.
How bad does your defense have to be for Nolan
I
Gorman
don't know,
to
because
triple
it was a
against you?
ball that went down the line, like literally a little dribbler that went past the first base bag. It must have rolled all the way to the corner for him to get to third.
Somebody said, grow up, Brandon. What'd I do? I said that Nelson Velasquez, who's been a career replacement level player, isn't very good. I don't feel bad about that. I feel pretty good on my side of things. Now, maybe he's figured it out at the age of 27. That's entirely possible. Would not be the first time that it's happened in Major League Baseball. I'm skeptical. But, hey, man, if he earns the job coming out of camp, you give it to him. He's the guy that's played the best out of any of the options that you have at that position. So credit to him. If he earns it, God bless him.
Grow up, you nerd.
So speaking of baseball, Alex, it's been a lot of fun to watch the WBC. I don't know that it's had huge amount of hype, but the games themselves have been highly entertaining. Last night I watched a little bit of it. The Dominican game, some of the home runs that they hit in that game, it was a party. Like it was an unbelievable scene. And the U.S. is going to advance by no help of their own to the next round with the quarterfinals. Over on The Athletic earlier today, you know how this works, Alex. In baseball, you always have to fix something. So the latest fix
Makes
is
sense considering where they're headed this upcoming offseason.
we've got to fix the World Baseball Classic because it's good, but man, couldn't it be better? And so the thing that a lot of people want to do, T-Bone pitched this to me the other day. I want to give him credit for it. What if you played the World Baseball Classic in the middle of the season? You changed the timeline. It's no longer in spring training. You put it in the middle of the season. That way the pitchers are ramped up. Well, Jason Stark of The Athletic pitched that same idea.
Stole it.
To one of the most prominent members of Team USA who has decided to leave because of the timing in Tarek Skubal. He would like to be there, but if he was continuing to pitch for Team USA, he wouldn't be able to pitch on opening day for the Tigers. He's not giving up his opening day start, as you can understand. So the idea from Jason Stark, continue to play the pool play right now. Don't change anything. And then once you get to the round of 8, the Elite 8, so to speak, quarterfinals, you would start that during the All-Star break. So you'd play the 2 quarterfinal games and then the semifinal games. And then you would have the World Baseball Championship game the week of the All-Star game. Alex, before we dive into any of the nitty-gritty, how do you feel about that? Playing pool play now, and then having the final 8 teams come back to play the World Baseball Classic, Elite Eight, so to speak, the week of the All-Star game.
I don't like it because I feel like all of the hype that's built up for those like elimination big games gets taken away when you basically say, cool, we're going to wait 3 months to play these games. And I also don't like the fact that the guys that are the main pieces of those rosters potentially won't be available to play in those elimination games if injuries subside later on in the season. So I don't like the idea of delaying those games. I think if you're going to play all of the ramp-up games for it, you need to play the games right after it.
I love the idea of it. Now, I think there would definitely be a lot of hype loss for the preliminary round, the group stage. But if we're being honest, I don't think the group stage, as BK said, has had that much hype. You get a good game or two in each group. Like, I think USA-Mexico was fun. USA-Italy was surprisingly fun in a bad way for Team USA.
Got great ratings.
Yeah, like you get games that are exciting. You're always going to have games that are like the US-Brazil, which is no shot towards Brazil, but they're just not a baseball powerhouse, so they're not going to be competitive in those games. So that's going to happen. I love it, and the reason for it is because it basically be the biggest stage you could have for baseball in the middle of July in a very down period. And I like the MLB All-Star Game. I think it's the best All-Star Game going. The guys are still clearly trying in it. But the reason that I would love the idea of it is because then you really get baseball center stage, and it has, what would it be, 7 really good games in a time frame there with the quarterfinals, semifinals, and then the championship. All your best players in theory should be available for it if you could play this out well. The only fear I have in it, though, is with the pitching still. And it's the problem that you have now in the pool play and what they're doing now with Scooble. Like I mentioned the All-Star Game. The problem that you have with the All-Star Game is most of the guys that don't end up performing in it are pitchers. And why do they not? It's because they probably start a couple days before the All-Star Game. So I don't think you can avoid that when it comes to the WBC. And what I mean by that is if Scooble starts on, say, Saturday before you get to the quarterfinals, which would start on, we'll say, Tuesday in this example here.
Yeah, he's got him starting on Wednesday, but...
Okay, well, then we'll say Sunday then for Scooble. Say Scooble, Skeens, and Webb, the 3 big names that are on Team USA's rotation now. There's a decent chance all 3 of those guys pitch the Sunday before we reach the WBC. Now, all 3 of those guys are out for at least that quarterfinal round. Now, maybe you could work around that and you could get one guy to start the quarterfinals and then all those guys would be ready to go. That would be the one hurdle they have. I think it's still somewhat workable compared to where it is now. I love the idea because you get baseball at the center stage. It'd be like the 4 nations. It'd be like the Olympics to where you just send your best players into this one big tournament. And wherever the All-Star game or All-Star festivities are at that year, they get this tournament. So it's not just held to just these southern hemisphere states right now like it is now where you've got just Miami's getting it, just Houston because it's warm outside, Arizona. St. Louis could have this one year, right? You could have this in Minnesota one year. You could have this
I think
in
you just
New York
put it wherever
one
the
year.
All-Star game is.
Exactly, and that's why I love it. Because right now you're limited to, 4 big league ballparks because of the weather where you have to host this. So I love it. I think it'd be great for baseball if they could expand this to All-Star Weekend.
I'm not opposed to it. I do think there would have to be some significant legwork that's done before you get there. Like, if you decide to do this the week of the traditional All-Star game, I think you have to get rid of the All-Star game that year. Like, you're not going to play this every single year, so it's not an every year thing, but I don't think that you would be able to put together a representative All-Star game if you're having the WBC. Because think about most of the players that are in the WBC. They're guys that are traditional all-stars, right? Like, go look at the Dominican team. Go look at the American team. Go look at the Japanese team. They're all guys that you would otherwise want to see in the All-Star game. So if you're not going to have Bryce Harper or Fernando Tatis Jr. or Tarek Skubal or Shohei Ohtani as part of the All-Star game, then what's the point of having the All-Star game? So you would just, I think, remove it. You could still have the events, but that year, what you do is you have like the Futures Game, the Home Run Derby, and traditionally the final event of that year for the All-Star Game, that those festivities, is the All-Star Game. Well, now it's the WBC Championship Game. That's what you could hold there. So one night it's the Home Run Derby, and then it's the All-Star Game. Off a couple of nights, boom, World Baseball Classic Championship Game is held at that same stadium wherever it is on any given season. Some year, like last year, what was it, Seattle? That held the All-Star Game, I believe, the festivities there.
I think that's right.
So you'd have it all done in Seattle that year. And then you could hold some of the other games elsewhere. Like maybe Miami continues to be a hub for this. Arizona continues to be a hub for this. You can do it wherever. You can move it around, as T-Bone is suggesting. But moral of the story, it could work. You don't have the All-Star game that year, though. And if that's something that MLB is willing to do, cool. If not, that's going to be a hindrance here.
And I would think they would, because they're the ones that are really cashing in the checks on the WBC. Because this isn't like
right now they get both. They don't have to choose between one of the two. This would be a lost revenue from the All-Star game.
See, I don't know if it would be, because what we're talking about is you're playing the quarter, semis, and the championship game all in that week.
TV is what you're missing out on. You already have all of those things.
I think Fox would be cool with saying you can get Fox or whoever ends up with the All-Star game when they get to the next media negotiation would be cool with saying, okay, we get the All-Star game on the years that there's the All-Star game, but we now get 7 games on that.
But they already have those. They're already getting those games right now. They're just pushing them to a new date. And so this is where it gets a little bit tricky is I'm no longer cashing in on the All-Star game that year. Fox would say, I'm not paying for something that I'm not televising. You would have to revise that TV contract. And so if you're Major League Baseball, am I willing to take that out of the deal, potentially take less cash in order to have this event more spotlighted? Or is it better for me to just have the event still in spring training, where we don't have anything competing against it, and it's done right before the start of the March Madness tournament, and so we're controlling the headlines. Like right now, the WBC is taking airtime for us because there's not a whole lot competing against it, frankly.
Yeah.
You're not into playoff hockey. You're not into playoff basketball. You're not into the NCAA March Madness tournament right now.
Baseball's still in the early portion, if not the middle portion of spring training.
Exactly. So it is kind of the one playoff feel out of all of the sports. The Olympics, the Winter Olympics are already done. So the timeline kind of fits right now. But they could push it forward and add even more, a bigger headline to it, because there's nothing competing against it in July. It would be the headline if you moved it there. But so I think there's an argument for it. And I just don't know if it's as necessary as a lot of people are making it out to be.
You can still keep some, not as many, because again, like I said, one issue you have if you do what we're talking about, where pool play is played in spring training, I'm not sure how much juice there is to it, but if there is some juice, like example, Italy beats USA, that becomes a headline for you in early March, while you still then get your headlines in July as well. Like, I think it's a double win-win for Major League Baseball to be doing it.
Yeah, sure, but you're removing the All-Star game. And so I think there is a loss here. Like we have to.
And you're losing finances on that, like you talked about with the television deal. And that's the thing for me, that it's like, yes, you will be the more dominant thing when it comes to the month of July. You already are if you're baseball. Like, you're already the only thing that people are talking about. It can be a dry period, but if I'm baseball, so what if it's dry around other sports? That's good for me, to where I'm the lone focus. I've got my All-Star week. I've got the home run derby. You've got the futures game. And then guess what? In a week or 2 weeks later, I got the trade deadline.
The other thing is there would be an added expense to this. You would have to travel all of these teams back to their home countries and then travel them again to the U.S. and then back to their home countries for the July event. That may not sound like a big deal to us, but when you're doing that for rosters, 20-plus guys on each roster, and you've got 8 teams that you're doing it for in mid-July, that is not an insignificant expense, and you have to make it work logistically, not only with Major League Baseball, but with the other leagues that these players are playing for across the world, not just the country. Like, there are guys that are playing in the Dominican Summer League. There are guys that are playing over in the NPB. There are guys that are playing in the Korean baseball. Like, there's a lot of stuff that you have to take into consideration logistically. It's not just as simple as, hey, we made this work with Major League Baseball. Boom, we can go ahead and sign this off. I will be very curious to see, and this is something Jason Stark mentioned in his piece, I will be very curious to see how they make all of this work with the Olympics, because that's going to be the test run. If they decide to allow Major League Baseball players to play in the Olympics, and I believe it's 2028, the Summer Olympics, that will be their ability to find out, how does this work in season? How do we configure this around the Olympics and an Olympic year? And could we do it where, like, every 2 years it's one Olympics, and then 2 years later it's the World Baseball Classic? Is that something that baseball could do? I think we'll find that out here in a couple of years, and it will all go back to, as Alex said, yay, CBA negotiation time. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll dive into the junk drawer. But next, I think the best case scenario for the Blues this offseason is something that Pierre LeBrun made reference to in a piece a couple of days ago over on The Athletic. We'll get into that next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Blues back in action tonight as they visit the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 5 o'clock with Alex Ferrario, then puck drop at 6 o'clock with Chris Kerber and Joey Vitale. Missouri currently in action in the second round of the SEC tournament. They trail Kentucky 38-29 at the halftime break. We'll keep you updated on that Missouri Tigers score throughout the day today here on 101 ESPN. And the Cardinals currently in spring training action where they lead the Mets 3-1. Nelson Velasquez with a 2-run homer the opposite way, and Alec Burleson with an RBI single. This Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. So, did you guys see Miami of Ohio just lost?
Curbs is going to be livid.
They were 31-0 in the regular season and 0-1 in their MAC tournament. Lost to UMass. The fighting Frank Martins were able to take them down in the MAC tournament.
All
you guys still think that Ohio or Miami of Ohio is a lock?
No, I don't. All you needed to do was just say that they lost in conference play. When you say that they lost the Frank Martins, it's like,
I think they're locked still for the tournament.
I do too.
I think they should be. I don't know how the committee's going to view them.
That's why I don't think they are.
Anytime you're a team like Miami, Ohio, who does not have a quad 1, and I don't even think a quad 2 win, if I'm not mistaken, it's hard to know what the committee's going to do with a team in that conference. Same with, I would never want my fate to be in the hands of the committee in the A-10.
Yeah.
But when you go undefeated in your conference, I don't care. You go undefeated in the regular season, I don't care what conference you're in. You can be in the MAC. You can be in one of these conferences that's already wrapped up like the Horizon League. You deserve to be in because there's some weird stuff that can happen. You could have an off shooting night and lose one game. They didn't have that in the regular season. It just happened today. To me, they belong in the NCAA tournament. They belong past the first 4 as well.
I'm glad we're seeing this stuff. I hope we see a couple more. The bubble sucks this year, guys. It's terrible. Auburn is a team that people think could potentially make this NCAA tournament. They went under 500 in the SEC. The SEC was not great at basketball this year, boys. The top was terrible. It was deep, but it wasn't very good at the top. Auburn on the season is probably going to finish 17-16 in 7-11 in conference play. I don't need to see that team in the NCAA tournament. So if Miami of Ohio gets their spot and somebody else from the MAC gets the automatic qualifying bid, great. I would rather see that. Now, they're probably going to lose in the first round of the NCAA tournament, but it'll be a fun story.
So was Auburn, by the way.
Exactly. And that's, Alex, we're going to get to your blue segment coming up later on today.
Segment, everyone's blue segment.
That's something that I'm really excited about this year's tournament. It has everything. There's really not a whole lot that you could ask for that this tournament is missing. It's got unbelievable freshmen. It's got legit elite of the elite in terms of the teams. Like, you look at Duke, Michigan, Arizona, and Florida, those teams are unreal, guys. They're amazing when it comes to just the overall depth, everything that they have to offer. I didn't even mention Illinois, who is as great offensively as any team that we've seen in the modern era of college basketball in terms of their efficiency. Iowa State's awesome. Houston's really good. Michigan State is great, and we know Tom Izzo is fantastic once you get to the NCAA tournament. Like, there are some really high-level teams this year. And that's to say nothing of a team like Kansas, who has one of the most talented freshmen in the country. And when he's on, they can beat anybody. Or BYU, who has a potential top 2 or 3 pick in the NBA draft, and they could beat anybody. And they're going to be like a 6 seed most likely. Or Kentucky, who we're watching today against Mizzou, who at their best can beat just about anybody. Unfortunately, they haven't played that best a lot of the time this year. So it's a really deep tournament. You've got a team like SLU, who was playing amazing basketball for most of the season and has hit their roadblocks now lately. The one thing that is really missing right now in my eyes is the Cinderella story, potentially, that you could look at and be like, that's my squad. I'm back in that team. Maybe it's St. Mary's. Maybe it's SLU. I don't know. But those teams don't typically emerge until March anyways. I love the way that this thing's setting up. There's been a couple of years lately where I did not feel like the NCAA tournament had the same buzz because of the lack of star power involved in it. I don't feel that way this year. This year, it's awesome.
Yeah, my only fear is that Cinderella, because we didn't get it last year. Like, I went back and looked today. I think the highest seed in the Elite Eight was a 3 seed. The highest seed in the Sweet 16 was a 10.
Yeah,
and that was Arkansas.
Was pretty chalk.
Yeah, and we talked about it at the time. We feared that was the case going in, or BK thought that was a fear going in. I said, no, there'll be an upset, and I was wrong. And then we were like, well, do you call Arkansas as a 10 seed really a Cinderella? That doesn't really seem to fit them. That's my biggest fear still, because, like, I agree. I think the top is excellent. I saw something the other day that when you look at the KenPom rankings and you look at the plus net ratings, like the adjusted efficiency margin, there are 7 teams that are above a plus 30, which would be the most ever going into an NCAA tournament since KenPom has been around.
And for anybody curious, that's basically a power rating. How good are you? How good are you above the average team in college basketball?
And we've got 7 of them this year that
Pretty
are
good.
at plus 30, which is ridiculous. And then, like, even when you talk about the middle of the pack, like, we talked about this with Missouri seeding. Like, I think if they can get on a line where the second round would be against a 3, you've got yourselves at least a fighter's chance. But anybody that's in that, like, 3 through 6 range are pretty solid teams as well. That's my fear, though, is we're just not going to see that Cinderella. And I think when March is at its best, it's when you've got the dominant team or 2 that you can look at. This year, 7. And then you've also got a Cinderella that goes on that magical run that everybody finds themselves rooting for. And it can't be like, I don't even know if St. Mary's qualifies, because St. Mary's has been in the tournament for what, like the last decade, it feels like. They're constantly there coming out of that WCC conference. It's almost got to be somebody that we don't even know, right? Like, never even knew UMBC when they were a 16 seed and won.
But that was only
a
a one and done. See, that's where I'll disagree with you. Like, Kansas State,
Fine,
I think it was
Peter's.
like 5 years
we'll
ago.
use St. Peter's as an example. St. Peter's went to what? The Sweet 16 Elite
That's
8?
the rarity, though.
But I think that's the Cinderella. That's a true Cinderella.
Sure, but it's a rarity. It does not happen very often. Typically, what you see for the Cinderella is the team that got hot at the right time. Like Kansas State a few years ago was a Cinderella story. They were a team that nobody expected to get as far as they were. Loyola definitely fits, but they're what T-Bone's talking about. Like, they're
that's a Cinderella.
under the radar.
I kind of agree with T-Bone.
non-power
You
five
tell me
team.
a
Like,
Power
those are the
5 team gets
Cinderellas.
hot? Like, okay, like, I would expect
Like
it.
Mizzou this year, if they were to go to the Final Four Elite Eight, they would be a Cinderella
I
story.
wouldn't call it a
wouldn't call that
Cinderella.
Okay.
Yeah. I view Cinderella as a team that, like
Not
Grand
the Power
Canyon,
Five.
Yeah.
or
yeah,
Santa Clara,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
that kind of a team.
Yeah.
Santa Clara, especially because I don't think
Typically,
they've
it's
been
like
in it
one of
much.
those 15 or 16 seeds that win, and then like they go on a couple of more win, like they make it to the Sweet
A
16.
team from a non-Power 5
Yeah,
conference.
that's
basically.
my label of a Cinderella. Yeah, because if Mizzou were to win 3 in a row, I wouldn't call that a Cinderella.
That's fair.
Because I think it's just the
I
SEC.
think NIL has killed that.
That's my fear.
I agree with that.
That is my
I think
concern.
the way that those teams in the past had reached the Sweet 16 or so, most of the time it would be teams that had been together for 4 years. You had guys that were just older. They were super experienced. And so at the beginning, especially of the one and done era, you would see these teams like Kentucky going up against a team that had 5 starters that were 22 years old. And so you've got a bunch of 18-year-olds that have played together for 3 months versus a team of 22-year-olds that have played together for 4 years and have their system down pat. And that team of 22-year-olds would find a way to win, right? Because of all of the experience that they had together. That doesn't really exist anymore. If you've got wildly talented players at a place like, I don't know, Tulsa or South Florida, well, those guys are getting scouted by these Power 5 teams, and they don't stay together for 4 years anymore. They get poached by a place like Missouri or a place like Kentucky or a place like Kansas, and so they end up like those Cinderella players are now just playing for the big teams after a year or two. So I think the NIL era has kind of killed the old Cinderella stories that we've come to know. I think now it's about these lower level Power 5 teams. And I'm not telling you have to enjoy that or appreciate it. I think those are the teams that are more likely now to be considered maybe you don't want to classify them as a Cinderella, but a surprise story once they get into March.
And my fear is that will kill some of the allure of what March Madness is.
I think you'll still get upsets in the first round. I just don't think that you're going to see some of these teams go as far as they had previously.
And I don't think that takes away from the bracket or the
I'm not
tournament.
even saying like
I don't
it
think so
has to
either.
be
I think
like an Elite 8 or Final 4 run. I'm saying like get to the second weekend. I think that's what makes one special.
And you might see some of that because the way that the seeding works. Like if you get a really big surprise in round 1 where a team gets into foul trouble, they miss a few shots, the pressure gets to them, and boom, you've got the upset. Like that stuff's still going to happen. It happened last year.
Yeah.
But that second round is where it gets a little tricky. Can they do that a second time around? It doesn't happen very often.
And I think that allure of the
hard.
tournament, all I need to see is one upset, and then I'm all the way invested. Plus, I say this all the time with sports betting, you're invested no matter what, right? Like people bet on the
That's a good
tournament.
point, yep.
It doesn't matter if there's a Cinderella team or if there's not. You have money invested into it, which you are going to be watching. Like me personally, I am going to be dialed in from start to finish because that's what I'm going to do.
It's not going well for Mizzou, by the way. A few people on the text line have asked,
Cinderella run?
You were trying to say there's a Cinderella team.
if they lose today, are they out? I do not think so. It depends. It depends on what happens with the conferences across, like the smaller conferences. If there are more teams like Miami of Ohio that are guaranteed a bid, more likely than not, that end up losing in their tournament, and so you get a surprise
Like
as the
someone
AQ.
not named SLU or VCU winning the A10 would be a problem.
That would be, okay, well, they're going to bust somebody's bubble because then that team that was living on the bubble, that spot's now taken, and there are just fewer at-large spots available. Everything gets pushed down a little bit. You don't want to be in that spot. I don't think Missouri, though, I think it would need to be like 5 of those. And the odds of that are extremely slim. Now, could they play in Dayton? That's something that's realistic now. Now you have to worry about Mizzou potentially being in the first 4 in, or the last 4 in, so they have to go to Dayton as one of those 11 seeds. That's very possible. I would say it's still most likely, though, that they're one of the last teams to get a bye.
Yeah.
I would say that's where they currently live.
And I think they got some help last night with Texas losing. Texas losing to Ole Miss should, in theory, help them. I don't get what Joe Lombardi was dreaming about by switching them around after Texas lost last night, but I think that loss really helps them stay from being like the last 4 byes to where they'll be an 11 seed.
He's T-Bone, I'm BK. That is Alex Ferrario coming up next. Time for the Junk Drawer here on 101 ESPN. Time for the junk drawer. Alex, what do you got for us today?
All right, so I think I helped somebody make a big decision in their life. So a couple of days ago, I'm home with my girls, and they've been installing fiber internet in our neighborhood over the last, 6 months. And so they had one of those kind of door-to-door salesmen that was working for the company that was just going around to let people know, hey, fiber's active. Did you want to switch over to it? And it's something that I've been wanting to do. So I'm outside. I think this was on either Monday. I think it was Monday. Beautiful day out. 3 girls are out riding around on their bikes, playing with chalk bubbles. And this kid, who probably is about T-Bone's age, he, cautiously walked up to my driveway. And you could tell he was, thinking, this might not be a good decision. But he did, and I told him, I said, hey, come on up here because, I've needed to switch this. And so he comes up, we're having this conversation, and I tell him immediately, look, I want to switch this over. And that's when pure chaos took over because he's standing there, and he's like, oh, man, I got a sale. This is awesome. Pulls his tablet out, ready to do the whole spiel to me. Daughter number 1 falls off the bike and starts screaming bloody murder. I said, hold on a minute, sir. I ran over there, helped her out, had to get a Band-Aid, and she was off and running. I said, okay, now let's do this. Girl number 2 is pissed off that her bike isn't working. I said, hold on, man. Let's run out and help her. Okay, now let's talk. Daughter number 3 falls and stubs her toe or knee and starts bleeding and screaming bloody murder. I go, I'm sorry, man. Ran over to help her. So about 15 minutes after I told him, let's do this, I finally come back and I'm like, let's get this going. And then so we kind of get the process started. And then once it starts again, both of my girls, my 2 oldest, come up to me in the garage. Daddy, I'm bored. Can we go do something else? Daddy, can we go ride the wagon up the street? Daddy, can we go in the backyard? And I'm like, baby, I'm talking right now to this guy. And he just starts laughing and he goes, oh my God. He goes, my wife or my girlfriend and I, we just got engaged and we just moved here and we were talking about when we wanted to have kids. And he goes, starting to have second thoughts about that one. I said, well, you want to know what it looks like? Here it is for you, sir. He goes, I tell you what, my girlfriend and I just adopted a dog. I think we're going to stick with that for a while. Yeah. I said, you're welcome, sir. I said, this will make you rethink life.
Way to give a guy a
I know. I told him, I said, he walked away and I'm like, man, I just helped that gentleman out right now. Now he's going to go back home and he's going to tell his fiance, hey, I think we should wait a little bit on kids. I was just at somebody's house and it was a complete ish show trying to get this thing done.
If you are thinking about having kids, I absolutely recommend hanging out with somebody that has a toddler.
Yeah, like Ferrario.
Not just one. I think you should go where they have multiple.
If you don't have any yet, I would say even if you hang out with somebody that has just one.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to have multiple. If you decide to have the first, you can always stop there. Then you can just determine for yourself what the future looks like.
I guess that's fair, but man, it feels like, and this is just from somebody who has multiple, one is a lot. I can totally understand that because it was a lot when I had one. But it's I feel like if I have one and I walk over, I'm like, this isn't too bad.
I don't know, man. It changes your life. There's no way around it. It completely changes your life. It does. I would never go back. I would not trade it for the world. It is the greatest experience ever. But, everything just becomes a little more time consuming. Everything becomes a little harder in some instances. And so like that, it used to be really easy. You could just talk to the guy, and he's in and out, and you're like, hey, I got new fiber cable or fiber internet.
I do, by the way.
But now you've got, hey, I'm going to talk to you for a minute, and then I've got to go have this conversation with this kid, and then I got to go talk to that kid, and now I got to go talk to this. It just changes every aspect of your life. It was
funny, too, because we were standing in the garage because it was sunny out, and he couldn't see his tablet, and so I said, just come up here. And so we're talking side to side like this, and I go, hey, man, I said, this is going to be weird, but do you mind standing over here where I can look at you? Because I need to make sure my girls are, there's no cars coming down the street. And it was just so funny watching a 26-year-old kid, see what parenting is like and watching his eyes man, I just really want to get this done because I got 15 more houses to go. And I said, boy, you walked into the wrong world with this one.
Me for last.
He was there for about an hour.
From the 314, boo, kids are the best. You're never ready to handle them, but we don't need to be so selfish with our money, time, or lifestyle. I don't think it's being selfish to say, it's going to change your money and your time and your lifestyle. And that's okay to acknowledge. Yeah. It's also the best.
Right.
I would not trade it for the world.
I joke all the time about it being chaos. I love the chaos. I just am speaking through the eyes of a 26-year-old kid who was getting married. Like when I was 26 and when Katie and I got married, we had the conversation of like, hey, let's be married for about 4 years before we start to have kids so we can enjoy it. The eyes of a 26-year-old looking at it being like, what, I don't get to go home and play my video games for the rest of the night? I don't get to go home and watch Netflix and watch an entire series with my wife? Like, no. Like, the eyes of that are very different from where I'm at. I wouldn't change it for the world, but I also waited until I was 30 before I had a kid.
Chad Powers over on the YouTube chat says, is it possible to have a clean home with kids? Man, if you figured that one out, you let me know.
Clean, yes. Cluttered, absolutely not.
We're having my mom out for the weekend. She's coming in from Kansas City this weekend. And Alex, I don't know if your wife is this way, but like for my wife, when we have somebody over, house has to be spick and span.
Yeah.
I mean,
my wife and I are the same in that
right?
front. Like, we have to have it clean.
If we're like hosting people, like if we're having a big group get together, yes, I totally agree with that. My mom's going to come over occasionally. She's not staying with us. She's staying in a hotel, and like, if our bathroom is clean and stuff's picked up, that's pretty much good for me. My wife views it differently, and so guess what? We're cleaning the house. We have started that process early in the week. I don't know why I did. Every time that I start doing something, the next day it's game over.
My wife and I
might as well do it the day before.
We have an agreement because, like, when it's just us, like, dishes can get piled up, clothes can get thrown all over. We don't really care. It's life. Let's just spend time together. But when there's people coming over, there's 2 times that the house gets clean, and we dedicate the 2 hours to do it. It's right when they go to bed, before we go to bed. So, like, from about 7:30 until 9:30 at night, all of the cleaning gets done. And then when they nap, from about 1 to 3, it's, all right, let's get this stuff done. And then when they wake up from the nap, it's don't touch anything in the house.
By the way, last thing on this, coming up next, we'll talk a little bit about the Blues. Is a door-to-door salesman your nightmare as a job? Yes. I can't imagine.
I didn't have to do the salesman part when I was doing pest control, but like you did have to walk door to door and let people know, like, hey, I'm going to be around your house to check the termite stations, or I'm going to do pest control. I despise going up to somebody to talk to them when they don't want to talk to me. And like, you could tell the hesitancy he had of like, this guy doesn't want to have a conversation with me. He's probably had the door slammed on him so many times. So yes, I think door-to-door salesman has to be the worst, because you're essentially approaching people to try and sell them something that they don't want you on their property.
It's got to be miserable. And the number of people that probably cuss you out as you walk up to the door or say, hey, please don't even come up to the door.
I couldn't even count the amount of times I had people stick their head through a window and cuss me out by saying, get the F off my doorstep. I've had the cops called on me like 3 times in the past because they said that I was breaking into their house. Like, I don't envy anybody who has to do that. Like, I'm like, more power to you. If that's the career you chose, go. So
I respect the hell out of it.
The guy was great because he was so calm and not pushy. I told him, I'm like, dude, you're awesome at this. But yeah, no way I could handle that.
Coming up in just a little bit, we'll talk more about the Cardinals and how things have gone for them today in their spring training game. Do want to bring up at least one of their pitchers that is noteworthy with his performance today. Also, coming up next, is this the best case scenario for the Blues this offseason? Pierre LeBrun brought up something that I think we should discuss. We'll do that next year on 101 ESPN. alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. So over on The Athletic, one of the top NHL insiders in the game is Pierre LeBrun. And Alex, the other day, Pierre LeBrun had a piece out on what the NHL trade deadline, which was kind of a dud, sets up for the summer. And he wrote about a bunch of different players that could at least have their names dangled once again in the trade market this summer. Simon Nemec is one of those players, a young defenseman for the New Jersey Devils. He also mentioned Roman Josi, who I don't think that really makes sense for the Blues, or Vincent Trocheck, who, again, I don't think really makes sense for the Blues. Erik Karlsson, who...
no.
Is Karlsson having a good year, by the way?
I mean...
Because the Penguins are.
We're all looking up to see.
Let's take a look.
He's
Erik
actually
Karlsson.
a plus 12. Oh, my God. Do you know how many times Erik Karlsson has been a plus in the last 10 years?
Well, he wasn't even
like
a plus.
Twice.
He wasn't a plus when he won the Norris, was he?
No.
Is that true?
Yeah, he wasn't a plus when he won the Norris.
Curbs brought that up on the broadcast.
He had
the other day.
100
He
points.
was a minus 26 and won the Norris Trophy.
With 100 points.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a bad defenseman. He's good right now.
Yeah, but he's like,
No. He's only put up 44 points, which, I mean,
that's pretty good.
Old and washed out.
Yeah, old and washed up. He had 53 and 82 last year. This guy's washed.
How many defensemen have more points than him? It doesn't matter. We don't have to talk about that. Erik Karlsson potentially available. Robert Thomas potentially available. Other guys, though, this is where it really gets noteworthy. Brady Tkachuk, Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid, Jason Robertson. These are all very interesting names.
You didn't even mention your guy from Toronto. Matthew Nyes.
Matthew Nyes as well. He was the one that led the story over here. You're right. I did not mention him. Alex, the reason I bring this up is because this is what I've always said about Robert Thomas. It's not just about you don't trade Thomas because you don't trade a 26-year-old center. It's also because you certainly don't trade him if you have the potential to add that legitimate top-line winger along with him less than 6 months from now. And that may exist for the Blues in the draft. We'll see. Depending on how they finish out this season, it's looking less likely now than it did about a month ago. It could also happen via the trade market because you're going to have some real trade capital. You might have a top 15-ish pick from the Detroit Red Wings. You have your top 10 pick most likely. You've got Jordan Kyrou. You've got prospects galore. That's going to be the kind of capital that some of these teams are looking for. Hell, look at Toronto. If you decide you want to get in on the Matthew Nyes sweepstakes, they may be interested in a Jordan Binnington or Colton Parayko or a Jordan Kyrou because I don't think Craig Berube is going to be there next year. You could get in on those conversations. If you talk about somebody like a Jason Robertson, you have a cheaper winger that can be cost-controlled for the Dallas Stars and young players that can come along for them. If you want to get in on the conversations for Brady Tkachuk, I think you've got the kind of pieces that can at least get you into the door, and maybe St. Louis is a destination that he would like to go to. So I say all of that to say this. Alex, this would be the best-case scenario. If one or two of these guys become available in the offseason, they could potentially be cooking with gas with a number one winger to go alongside Robert Thomas. And now that could push down two of the guys that we're really excited about with Holloway and Snuggie as second-line players.
Well, and the other thing, too, on top of the trade, and you've brought this up in the past, is the offer sheet compensation. If you go into this upcoming year and you can offer sheet Jason Robertson, you don't have to do the 4 first-round picks because Dallas is going to be salary capped. You could offer $11.6 million to Jason Robertson and give up the 2027 first-round pick and it might be this year's first-round pick and the next year's. I'm not sure how that one works, but it's 2 firsts, a second, and a third to go get offer sheet for Jason Robertson, and you get him for cheaper if he agrees to that type of contract. So, there's offer sheets out there. This is one of those paths that I've talked about. You've got 2 of them, and I think this one actually is more realistic than trading away Robert Thomas if these guys become available. And that's the caveat you have to put into this. We don't know if Jason Robertson is going to be available. We don't know if Brady Tkachuk is going to want to move and tell Ottawa to trade me because he's got full say in that one, or really Ottawa does. And then we don't know if you even have the compensation to go get a Matthew Nyes for what they're looking for. But if all of these guys are out there, you make the aggressive push to go get it because with Holloway and Snuggerud and Neighbors and what Carbonneau can be, and now with Dvorsky, you just need that one more dude. And I do agree, Jordan Kyrou can be a piece of that conversation. I think you're probably talking about, if you want one of those guys, all 3 of your first-round picks in this year's draft. But then the prospect pool, like, do you float a guy like Otto Stenberg out there? Because he's a winger, you've got a lot of them, and you could go attract one of these guys. If you can go out there and find that one more potential superstar player to play in your top 6, it makes everything look deeper and it puts you in a more competitive window. The question will be, do the Blues value doing that push rather than just saying, no, we're going to push this thing back a couple of years? But if it's me, I'm going to look at Brady Tkachuk. I'm going to look at Robertson from Dallas and say, let's go get one of these guys. If Tkachuk is available, if Robertson's available, I'm just going to throw everything at this team and say, let's make this thing work out right now. We've got the starting point of the top 6 winger that can replace the guy you're trading away. And then what do we need to do to piecework this thing together the rest of the way?
I've got your offer sheet, by the way, $9.3 to $11.7 million, which is probably the kind of compensation you're talking about for somebody like a Jason Robertson. It's 2 first-round picks, a second-round pick, and a third-round pick.
Yeah. And it would be, so if you're offer sheeting somebody this upcoming offseason, it would be 2027's first-round pick and 2028's first-round pick, and then a second and then a third. So you'd have to get your second-round pick back, which we're going to do that rodeo again. Kevin Hayes coming through once again.
You do have a first-round pick. You could just trade your first-round pick this year to somebody to Columbus for your second-round pick. Yes, you're dropping down, but it gives you the right to be able to do something like this.
Yeah, but like what I'm saying is like that might be actually the better route to go, because all you need to do is offer sheet and get Jason Robertson to be okay with it, because Dallas is going to be handcuffed at that point.
And if you trade somebody like a Jordan Kyrou, you're getting some of this compensation back anyways.
Yeah, you're getting the $8 million off. And in my opinion, who cares what you're getting back for Jordan Kyrou if I'm getting Jason Robertson?
And I'm talking about the draft pick compensation.
Yeah,
like you're getting prospects back into your system, so if you lose these draft picks, whatever.
Yeah, that's what I mean too. So I think that's probably the better route to go, but you can veer into making this team even more competitive with a roster around if you believe Robert Thomas is part of the solution. And I do think there's going to be some notable names that become available this offseason.
RFA is interesting this offseason. There's some really good young players. Connor Bedard's out there.
Nah, that would be great, though, to get him from Chicago.
Adam Fantilli.
I like Fantilli. Columbus isn't going to let him go.
What about this? I'm not going to be able to. Yep.
He's the Vegas cat, right?
Mm-hmm. He's having a really good year.
He is. He's a lot like what Druin is in terms of like he's a power play threat. Yeah, like I think he's that power play one-timer guy with probably not much more beyond that. Like, to me, that's not a star. Yeah, Carlson, but you ain't getting him.
Zach Bolduc?
Nah.
Brant Clark?
I've heard Bolduc hasn't scored a goal in 25 games.
Brant Clark?
He's not here.
23 years old?
Yeah.
Defenseman?
Yeah, I'd go get Brant Clark. That would be a guy.
You in on Trevor Zegras now?
No.
Okay.
Where's Brant Clark at?
Brant LA. That's the defenseman.
Right,
yeah. Zegras is a winger, by the way, for Philly. He's not even used as a center bit anymore.
Peyton Krebs?
No.
Okay.
Any more RFAs you got? Any more brain
that's pretty much
busters?
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Cole Perfetti, he's interesting, but I don't think he's the kind of guy that you're giving up this.
He actually has been pretty bad for. Winnipeg fans are upset because they kept Cole Perfetti over Nikolai Ehlers. He's got 8 goals in 49 games.
Perfetti?
Yeah.
Wow. That's disappointing.
Yeah, that was the guy that they said, like, well, we don't, because he scored 18 last year. He got the goal against the Blues in the playoffs. I think it was the one that they scored to tie the hockey game before it went to overtime. They thought this guy was going to be their next big deal and they could move on from Nikolai Ehlers, and they were wrong.
Yep, that's not gone the way that anybody had hoped for them. Yeah, those are pretty much the only RFAs. Nicholas Robertson, the other Robertson.
No, he's not as good as the other Robertson.
No,
but like, there's a threshold of to do what we're talking about. It's Jason Robertson. It's Brady Tkachuk. It's Matthew Nyes. It's a clear-cut number one winger.
If you wanted to, you could go do this with Connor Bedard. It doesn't matter. Chicago has all of the money. That's why it's interesting with Dallas, because they could be in a situation where, kind of similar to Edmonton, they're stuck. They don't have the money to be able to give him that $11.7 million AAV.
Yeah, they got $14 million in cap space next year, and they have 18 guys on their active roster.
Yeah. So they're stuck. They don't really have a way to be able to make that work with what they currently have available to them. That'd be interesting to me.
If you could go get that, I would be a lot more willing to buy into this team next season, because now you're pushing a Dylan Holloway to a second line, and we already know, or you're playing Jason Robertson or Brady Tkachuk or any of the other pieces that you go out there and trade for on the second line that provide you that depth in terms of star players on the roster.
Can I read you some of Harrison's brother Masters' thoughts on?
I'm sure he's very positive on what we're talking about here.
The Blues are not going after Jason Robertson. That was in capital letters.
Twice he put it in capital letters.
If you think Kyrou doesn't work here, Jason Robertson is worse.
Yeah, because 40
you guys
goals
must
is
be
worse.
eating a stupid pill. If Robertson was good, Dallas would re-sign him. You don't need one more dude. You need younger and better defensemen. You need better centers. You don't need wingers. That was all in caps. Jason Robertson is not a superstar. These are some of the dumbest takes of all time. I'm embarrassed for both of you. Tuning out now.
Cool. Thanks, Harrison's brother master.
I bet he's still listening.
Ease up on that all caps key, too.
So,
I don't know what's really dumb about these takes. Yes, you need better, younger D, but you've got one that's coming up.
Can I read you Jason Robertson's goal-scoring production over the last 5 seasons?
That was the dumbest take I've ever heard.
Jason Robertson, since the start of the 2021 season, is not Jordan Kyrou because he's been consistent. He has 41, 46, 29, 35, and 34 goals. That's what this team is missing. Now, if you wanted to come at me and say, yeah, but he's done that with a great support system in Dallas, that is more than reasonable.
And that would be my biggest concern for Robertson.
And maybe he's not going to be that same player here in St. Louis. However, he's had 13, 9, and 12 goals on the power play. I think that travels.
That plays.
I think that will come here with him because of his shot. And that is also the kind of thing that this team has desperately been lacking for years.
Yeah.
And if you have that on one side and Jimmy Snuggerud potentially on the other, that to me is very interesting.
Somebody texted
anyways,
in.
I don't think it's going to happen, but this is the ideal scenario for the Blues this offseason, especially if they decide to keep Robert Thomas. Rather.
Somebody texted in and said, great plan, fellas. What do you do when Robert Thomas doesn't bother to show up again until February next year? The hope is, one, he stays healthy, and two, if you go get that other star player, Robert Thomas is a lot more able to go off like we've seen him in the second half with Holloway and Snuggerud.
To that texter's point there, if he doesn't show up till February with Robertson on his line, you have your answer, right? This is BK's.
Exactly.
This has been BK's point all along when it comes to the Thomas conversation. You don't have to do it now. You can wait and see if there's an out of whether it's Robertson. At the time when we started this conversation, it was a top 2 pick. Robertson would really be the ideal situation because you'll know within a year if really it is a Robert Thomas problem or it was the cast around Robert Thomas as the problem for not getting the best out of him. If you can do that, that's when I'm on board with your guys' side of keeping Robert Thomas and going, okay, I'll wait another year and find out what he looks like. And if he doesn't show up till February, guess what? I got my answer. Now we can go back to listening on offers for Robert Thomas.
He's T-Bone. That's Alex. I'm BK. Mizzou making a game out of this, down 60-55 with about 10 minutes to go in the second half against Kentucky. So we will continue to keep you updated on anything that happens in that one as Missouri is trying to keep itself alive in the SEC tournament. Really struggled in the first half. They've turned it on here in the second. Coming up next, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for Believe It or Not here on 101 ESPN. Stevie Wonder's not blind.
Oh!
Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could feel so
Free, flying away on a wing and a prayer. Who could it be?
Believe it or not, it's just
What are you bringing on private conversations on the air for, man?
314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for Believe It or Not. He's not. He's not blind. All right. Believe it or not, Stevie Wonder's blind.
Believe it.
In all seriousness, believe it or not, Mizzou's going to come back in this game against Kentucky, down 60-57 with about 7:55 to play.
I don't know, man. Probably believe it because this team just decides to play defense in the second half. It's like the
Mark
Blues in
Mitchell,
the first 3 months of the
22
season.
points in this game.
I'm going to say not believe it. I still think they'll lose to Kentucky.
Dude, they were down by like 15, or they're down by 2 now.
Mark Mitchell's putting together one hell of a finish to the season. His point totals over the last 6 now, 26, 23, 17, 17, 32, and so far today against Kentucky, 22 points in 31 minutes on 9 of 15 from the field.
Is this your push to make him one of the all-team for the SECs?
What are we doing? SEC. I can't believe that he didn't make a first or second team all SEC. Well, it's crazy. I'm going to believe it. I think they
He's watching it probably live and sees it.
No, I feel bad because if I say believe it, they're not going to do it.
Dude,
it's a BKO.
It's already out of the
outlet. You already said it.
You presented it because you believed it.
I'm sorry, Jackson.
Yeah, you presented it because you believed it, so it's already over with on this one.
Oh, man, I can't believe I just did that.
That's
Go ahead,
a shame.
Alex.
So bad. Guys, believe it or not, by the end of the season, Robert Thomas, from the Olympic break on, will have top 3 points in the National Hockey League.
Say that again?
So by the end of the season, from the Olympic break to the end of the season, Robert Thomas will be top 3 in points.
I believe he shows up second half of the year for some reason.
I really fear this injury.
I'll be fascinated to see. Now, I will say, when he came back in that game the other night, he was still ripping shots and passes like nobody's business. It's just the faceoffs that you're concerned about.
I just wonder if that's going to limit what they're able to do with him situationally. Mm-hmm. And if you're not going to have him, especially if they're getting offensive zone faceoffs in big situations where he's not the one taking the draw, I fear it. So I'll say not, and it has less to do with him and more to do with the injury.
I think what they're going to do, too, is just tell Holloway, like, hey, man, you just need to tie up the center, and Thomas and Snuggerud will come in and try and win that puck battle, because they view faceoff wins as who gains possession a couple of seconds after the faceoff draw. So you can regain possession and still begin in the faceoff dot. I'm going to believe this one with T-Bone. This team goes off in the second half, and I really believe Robert Thomas, with that connection with the other two, can generate a ton of offense. So I think he'll be top 3.
T-Bone?
Guys, believe it or not, Nelson Velasquez will be the starting left fielder for the Cardinals come opening day.
As of today, I believe it.
Yeah, me too.
I think I believe it as well. Hit another home run today the opposite way. Seems to be playing well. He seems to be really the one right-handed bat that's really taken this runway opportunity and run with it. For me, he's like 4 for 28 in spring. And for being honest, I don't think they really wanted him to win the job. And then JC's away at the WBC where he's only gotten 6 at-bats and he's 0 for 6 and he's lost the starting job there. So I would believe it. I think right now my bet today would be he is the opening day left fielder. I don't know who they DFA for him, but I think he's the one. All
right, let's get into this. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for Believe It or Not. You guys give us a scenario. We will tell you if we believe it or not here on 101 ESPN. From Dirks Diggler's unit, believe it or not, Walker is benched by the end of April.
Not believe it.
Yeah, I'd not believe it. I think we're not going to have that conversation until we get midway through May or beginning of June. So I'd say not believe it.
Agreed. Sweep it. Believe it or not, the Blues use at least 2 of their first-round picks to acquire new players this offseason.
Believe it. I think both might be packaged in either a trade for a player or in a trade with their first-round pick to move up in the draft to draft a player. So I'm going to believe this one. I think they wheel and deal at this year's draft.
I'm not going to believe it. I think the wheeling and dealing will be them sending assets away, not buying.
I'm going to say not believe this either. I think maybe they trade one of them. I do not think they will trade both of them. That seems overly aggressive to me. Believe it or not, the Cardinals will finish in 4th place in the NL Central.
I'll believe this one.
You think they avoid being in last?
Yeah, I think so. Someone between Cincinnati or Pittsburgh will just continue to fall. And I think Ollie has shown the ability to be good enough to get to squeeze as much out of this team as possible?
I'm not going to believe this. I think they're going to finish last. I think they're going to have one of the worst offenses in Major League Baseball. I like what we're seeing from some of the pieces from the pitching side. Like Dustin May's velo was up again. Richard Fitz looks like he's got a big fastball at least. So I like what we're seeing on the pitching side. I mean, most of the guys that we're talking about that are supposed to be part of the offense with Herrera, Wetherholt, and Burley have done nothing in spring training so far. Gorman finally has had a good day. Walker's done nothing. Scott's doing nothing. Mason Wynn hasn't done a whole lot, and I fear that could extend into the season for him. So with that being said, I think they finish last because I think the Pirates have something they can lean on their pitching staff. The Reds will be okay. Milwaukee will be okay. The Cubs should be the one that wins the division. I will say, yeah, not going to believe it. They finished last.
I'll say believe it. I think somebody ends up, whether it's Cincy or Pittsburgh, disappointing relative to expectations, and then they do a sell-off at the deadline. And that allows them to be worse than the Cardinals.
Can I give you one real quick? Just because us talking about them trading the picks kind of went me down this rabbit hole. Believe it or not, the Blues actually trade one first-round pick in this year's draft, and it's theirs. So the reason I've come up with this is Alex DeBrincat. He was traded from Chicago to Ottawa when he was 25 years old, and that was coming off of a 41-goal season, 78 points in 82 games. They traded their first-round pick, which was the 7th overall pick in that year's draft, a second and a third-round pick. So they trade their first-round pick, which might be, if you're not drafting in the top 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, Blues trade that to go get their NHL player.
I'm not going to believe it because we don't see that kind of that level
I just
draft
gave it
pick.
to you, man.
Yeah, I know, but that was one scenario. I typically it doesn't happen. Typically the first round picks we see get dealt are the ones we saw that get dealt at the deadline, which is that like back half of the first round. I don't think they will move theirs. If they move one, you can convince me on like that Detroit one if it settles in around like 16, and then the other one that
I'm going to say not because I'm still going to hold out hope that they end up with a top 5 pick. And if they get a top 5 pick, I don't think they're trading that. I think to do this, they have to fall down to like 9, 10, somewhere in that range. And my hope is that doesn't end up being the case. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll hit the rewind. A little bit of an update from the Mizzou game versus Kentucky. The last few minutes have not necessarily gone their way, although they are now starting to come back. Alex's stream is a little bit behind, so I'll give you the update. It is 67-66 with about 4 minutes left to play.
Oh, that sucks for you.
Trent Pierce has taken them within a point, again, with about 4 minutes left to play in the second half. So we will continue to keep you updated on that. The game will probably come to a conclusion right before the end of our show. Coming up next, do the Cardinals have any breakout candidates beyond just JJ Wetherholt this year? We'll get into that next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. The Blues will be back in action tonight as they visit the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 5 o'clock with Alex Ferrario. Puck drop at 6 o'clock with Chris Garber and Joey Vitale. Missouri in action right now as they're taking on Kentucky in the second round of the SEC Tournament. They trail by 69-68 with 2:33 to go in the second half. And the Cardinals currently in spring training action against the New York Mets where they lead at 3-1. Michael McGreevy got the start for the Cardinals today. 2-run homer from Nelson Velasquez and an RBI single for Alec Burleson. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Universal Windows Direct.
Alongside Alex Ferrario and Tanner Hendrickson, I'm Brandon Kiley. Mizzou's coming back. This is a fun one, Alex.
I'm in a commercial break right now, so I don't know what you're talking about.
NCAA tournament on the horizon. Mizzou in the SEC tournament right now. 2 minutes left to play. It's a tie ball game at 70. Oh, nope. It's a 71-70 lead for the Kentucky Wildcats. Just a couple of minutes left to play. Nope. Now they have fixed
You
that
can't
again.
do play-by-play of basketball on air, man.
That wasn't even good. Play-by-play.
Well, the ESPN app went from 70 to 71, back down to 70, and now it's back up to 71.
Just let the game play itself out, okay?
All right, so about 2 minutes left to go. 71-70, Kentucky beating Missouri, but a close one. Going to be an interesting finish here between Mizzou and Kentucky. By the way, Mark Mitchell up to 30 points. He's the first Mizzou basketball player to score at least 30 points in a conference tournament game since Jordan Geist did so against Georgia back in 2019. Kevin Preer did it against Auburn in a game that I will always remember. I believe it was the final year of the Kim Anderson era. He did that in the SEC tournament against Auburn. And then before that, Linus Kleiza scored 33 against Oklahoma in the Big 12 quarterfinal game back in 2005. That's the end of the list. Those four players in the last 25 years in a conference tournament game for Mizzou. All right. We'll get into the rewind here in just a little bit. Alex, do the Cardinals have a breakout candidate on the opening day roster beyond just JJ Wetherholt?
No. I don't think so. If you're telling me that the breakout candidate is the guy that breaks camp, I don't think so. I think you might have if you kept Baez. I think Doyle could be somebody that if he comes up later in the season, could be one of those players that a lot of people are talking about, but from the break of camp, no. You told me Velasquez is bad, so I don't really care what he does the rest of the way. And I think everybody else is beyond that breakout candidacy. So I guess I could listen to somebody if they want to bring up Michael McGreevy, but we kind of saw him already last year. So no, I think Wetherholt is it.
Yeah, I don't really see anybody outside of Wetherholt. I think he truly is the one guy. Maybe on the pitching side, I could hear an argument on maybe like Richard Fitz. Big fastball.
Damn,
you work on the slider. What's
Come
that?
on.
They lost?
No, that was going to be my name.
He's the only guy that I look at and say there's a chance, but I wouldn't bet on it today. That's why I said I don't think there is somebody, because he's looking at his profile and what we've seen in spring. Looks like a guy with a big fastball that doesn't have the secondary pitch to go with it just yet, and it's why he had a higher ERA in his time with Boston, where he made like 10 starts last season.
And his command, the stuff is clearly there. The command's been awful so far in spring training, and that's something that will show up even more as you get into the regular season, because guys are just going to be more patient. If they see, hey, this guy can't put it in the zone, I just won't swing at anything. So it'll be something that kind of comes out that way. I would say Kyle Leahy's the other. If you wanted to give kind of an outside-of-the-box candidate to potentially be a breakout for the Cardinals this year, there's a scenario in which Kyle Leahy has 6 pitches as a starter, and it just works. It all comes together. Last year, he was very good for the Cardinals out of the bullpen. I don't believe it. I don't think that he's going to be this, but there's a scenario where he becomes the breakout candidate for the Cardinals this year. If you're looking at the hitting side of things, though, and this is why I find it interesting, because T-Bone, both of our names were on the pitching side, I think you could even go beyond that of hey, maybe it's Bryson Motts, maybe it's Quinn Matthews, maybe it's one of those other prospects that comes up on the pitching side of things. Hitting-wise, Herrera's already broken out. I don't think he would really qualify for this. The same thing is true for Alec Burleson, in my opinion, so I don't think he would qualify. I guess you could go with Gorman. I don't believe that at all.
We can't put Gorman there because
Victor Scott, but
no.
Is anybody predicting it?
No.
Who else is it?
Velasquez, man. You just had to poop in everyone's Cheerios when they were getting excited about it.
Mason Wynn could do it.
He could, but I don't know if I see it with him.
Yeah.
You know?
No, that's fair. But I'm saying if he were to hit 20 home runs this year,
sure. But he
I don't
seems
think it's
to be
likely.
more focused on. I don't want to say slap hitting. I think that's a little bit of a disservice. But he seems more like, trying to get more on base than focusing on
Which
power.
would make sense with Brendan Donovan being gone. They probably do look at
looks like he's going to be a leadoff hitter for him.
We need
so
you to
I
be on
get
base.
it.
Yeah.
But if he had 25 stolen bases, 20 homers, and 40 doubles this year.
I think if you're saying I think you could make that argument for all these guys because they're going to get the reps. They're going to get the opportunities and the leeway. I think if we're going down the realistic path, offensively, there's only one guy that can do it. I just don't believe Mason Wynn has that power. Yeah, and I don't.
Who do you think is the second most likely? Maybe that's a better way for me to frame this. Who is the second most likely candidate to break out for the Cardinals as a position player in 2026?
I think I would agree with Baez.
Yeah, I think it's the guy that's not here yet. I think it's Baez. I have no faith in Gorman, no faith in Walker. I could hear the argument on Wynn, but because Baez has the power and you're going to give him time to kind of marinate at AAA and then he gets up here in who knows how long, I think he's the one that I would pick today that would be the book's not out on him yet. He gets here to the majors, and teams don't know how to pitch to him, and he just goes on a tear like he did in spring training, and he's the guy that surprises you. That doesn't mean it sustains going into 2027, as we've seen in years past with the St. Louis Cardinals. But he's the one that I would circle as the second most likely to do it behind JJ Wetherholt.
What if I limited it to players on the active roster?
I tell you, there's not a second one.
I'd agree with that.
Who's the most likely?
You're just trying to get us to say Mason Wynn, man. We don't believe it.
I think he is the most likely, right?
No, you know what? I'm just getting Pozo.
Come on. You don't believe that.
Yeah, it would be Wynn. I mean, because I don't buy into Victor Scott, and I don't think Walker or Gorman are going to have any breakthroughs, and everyone else, we've already seen it.
That's where I'm at.
I think, yeah.
God, he just basically forces you over the edge of the cliff.
Hey, man, you're going to agree with me one way or another. Oh, there's no way around
We've made it very clear.
No,
Look,
changed my mind.
Tigers are going to lose.
Gorman's second most likely. Power left-handed hitter. Finally hits 40 bombs.
I just think Pozo's going to do it. Pozo's going to hit 30 bombs for him as a DH/backup first baseman.
That'd be amazing. I'm here for it. He wasn't good last year offensively. I thought he was.
You fell for it.
If you haven't watched the Redbird Report yet, please do so, because the moment BK found out Pozo was 20% above league average, I felt like I blew his mind that day.
I hate this Mizzou team.
Yeah, see, you just had to bring him in to believe it or not.
M-I-Z.
Z-O.
We'll give you the update on that, and we'll put a bow on this thing with the rewind next year on 101 ESPN.
Alex Ferrario with you to talk about my friends over at Classic Air Care. This time of the year, the warmer weather, springtime, it's time to take a look at that HVAC system to make sure it's clean, make sure no leaves have piled up on it, make sure you've changed your filter already, because you're going to get into that season where you're turning the AC on and it's going to be working overtime because you haven't done the due diligence with that HVAC system. That's their maintenance agreement. You can check it out online, sign up for it. I'd urge you to, because I've been doing it since 2016, and it is great having a company that has been making people comfortable since 1926, maintaining my unit twice a year, making sure it's good to go through the upcoming season. But maybe you're past that. Maybe you've got an older unit and you need a new one. You're still in that spring season to where you could get some discounts if you purchase a new HVAC system. Plus, they are offering a free water heater if you put a new system installation. But the incredible customer service is really what drives it home. You get technicians that have been doing this for 30 plus years. They've got an incredible staff staff that will get back to you within 24 hours. They're open 7 days a week. They've got overtime techs available for you. So check them out, and also check out their positive reviews. Hear from other people like Barb, who said Travis was great, excellent customer service skills, showed us and explained what he did to help us today. Very detail-oriented. I can't say enough good things about him and Classic Air Care. Schedule online, classicaircare.com.
This stupid team. Stupid team.
The last 30 seconds of this game needs the Benny Hill music.
Talking about the Missouri Tigers? Yeah.
All because you decided to make it a believe it or not. You got way too cocky with your team. You're like, oh, believe it or not, they're going to come back and win this game. They were up by 15, and they pulled themselves back in. Mark Mitchell, 30 points.
Yeah. How about them Tigers?
Ready, T-Bone? Here we go.
It's over. Kentucky has won 78-72. Missouri has been booted from the SEC tournament. They'll await their fate in Selection Sunday to see if they're going to Dayton or somewhere else.
That's a shame.
Dayton.
That's a shame.
Dayton. T-Bone, time to get a new hoodie.
I know. I don't know if I can get it in time for the first four.
Mark Mitchell and the boys just couldn't get it done. Sean Phillips was able to play all of 19 minutes before his antics took over, and he had to just self-implode in the final minutes of this game. So he fouled out, and in doing so, cost Missouri any chance of being able to come back in the game. Wasn't just him, though. T.O. Barrett shot an ill-timed three earlier in the game.
Couldn't dribble the ball.
Couldn't dribble the ball.
Did it under the basket
missed
layup.
A wide-open layup. Mark Mitchell had 32 points and was 13 for 21 from the field, and his teammates just couldn't help him. Jaden Stone, by the way, has just completely disappeared over the last 5 games or so. He had 5 points in this game. Their entire bench accumulated a total of 7 points.
Wow. I've heard that's good.
While shooting 2 for 10 from the field.
The battle of the cats proved that you're just a house cat, BK.
Selection Sunday is just days away. You can get signed up to play in this year's Bracket Madness Pick'em Challenge. Register right now at 101ESPN.com. Sunday is when the bracket will come out. It's free to enter. This year's top scorer will come home with a $250 Amazon gift card and a 101 ESPN prize pack. Bracket Madness available now at 101ESPN.com. It is refreshed by Bud Light. Hey, if you guys missed anything from the show, check it out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com, and the free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. It's all sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
Coming up later on this afternoon, you'll be able to hear the latest edition of the Last Minute Blues podcast. I think you're going to want to. They have Tom Stillman. He's in studio with you guys, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's going to be in here with us.
An exclusive interview with Alex Ferrario, Jeremy Rutherford, and Donnie Fandango. It's all available for you at youtube.com/101ESPN STL, so be sure to stay tuned for that. I'm excited to hear what Jackson has to say about the Mizzou game.
Just saw him take the walk of shame down
tomorrow morning on TMA.
You go cry together.
It was a tough one. That was a frustrating one. I don't like the vibes.
53% of Kentucky's points came in the paint.
How'd they
Phillips was sitting on the bench.
How'd Mizzou shoot from the free throw line?
15 for 23.
It's not
fine.
bad for them.
No, they lost by 6, really lost by 3, and Kentucky was 18 for 23. What's the difference between 18 for 23 and 15 of 23? It's 3 points, which is basically the determination of the game, and Sean Phillips being a,
so you're telling me that they didn't make their free throws that could have kept them in that basketball game?
I can't do a Mizzou game while we're on the air. So for Alex Ferrario and Tanner Hendrickson, I'm Brandon Kiley. We will talk to you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m. Guess what? The Fast Lane's coming up next here on 101 ESPN.